Let us rejoice and be glad. Father God, settle down with us in this room today as we discuss county business and the best path forward. Father God, we ask you to bless Gates County with this budget that we get ready to go through. Lay your hands upon it, bless it, and make it good as far as you see fit. Father God, we ask all these things in your name above all things. Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
Preface with what we have any kind of.
Well, grateful that we had our field trip this morning.
Yes.
Oftentimes you start to fall asleep by 11:30. I think I kept everybody energized. We start off today with one of our, I'll call them strategic partners at the community college level. And I've only had one or two occasions to meet with Dr. Bagwell, but he's got a lot of enthusiasm and the horsepower behind the institution and the board. The county traditionally has appropriated a figure less than $10,000 a year, which I think is being reflective of the fact that we don't have a physical presence of the community college here. For those commissioners like our neighbors in Hertford County that have the main campus of the Roanoke Shoreline Community College, their responsibilities are not just for the capital and maintenance and electricity, but quite a few other responsibilities. So it is a blessing and a huge responsibility when you take on community college campus. So I won't say any more.
We are having audio. Is it audio still, or
we are on video?
Okay, so we have video, audio now, so it will. I mean, I don't know if you can see it, but it's going to scan whoever's on kind of thing, and it'll be posted online later for viewing. But
well, thank you for having me and us, COA. I'm going to introduce Dr. Dean Routon, who I asked to come with me. He's our vice president, I say, of stuff, because I can't remember all that I have assigned to him, but it's basically institutional research, compliance, and some other things that fall under his purview. And so he's here with some numbers as we get to them, but really I would really like for this to be a conversation. And instead of a presentation, so I'm really not prepared to do a stand-up presentation for you, just want to have a conversation. But Scott and I have talked a few times and appreciate his approach to this conversation and what we're talking about. But I had met with Dr. Riddick a couple of times, and we had talked about some opportunities, and I know you guys have been involved with My Future NC folks. And so we had talked about some things, no plans, but of course with new commissioners and with different ideas on the table, we want to see where you're going, how it marries up. I told Scott, you know, we are going to come back with our ask here in the next few days. There will be an increase. It's not going to be astronomical increase, but I want to talk about what it means to fund the college as it exists, what it means to have a campus. I'm going to use air quotes. Can't look a little thing there, might see the air quotes, and what kind of expenditures we're talking about. But really, with 7 counties, 4 campuses, the challenge is we are already spread out for a college our size, and we are somewhere right smack in the middle of 58 community colleges with regard to size. You look at it with budget, employee number, student count, FTE, you can slice it a bunch of ways, but we're pretty much number 28, 29, 30, 31 of 58, depending on how that plays out. So we're already stretched thin. We have the largest service area, the largest number of counties, the largest board of any college in the North Carolina Community College system. But at this point, I think it's important for you all to understand that we were at a precipice 2 years ago with respect to governance changes in the community college. It could have gone a couple of ways with our board. One way would have seen Gates having no seats on the board. And really, it depends on how you interpret the less than $10,000 that we've been getting, because the compliance with that governance statute says that the county has to give plant funds, which most colleges interpret as capital funds. We interpreted it as supporting of a plant. And so that meant you went from 0 seats to 2 seats. And frankly, the legal interpretation supports either. So we really fought to give you more seats at the table instead of having to share. What would have happened is the counties that no longer had seats at the table would have had to ask Pasquotank County as a host county, please, may we have a representative? And they would have said yes or no. But if you'd have had to divide that between 5 counties and 4 seats, do the math.
Right.
So you have representation. Lola Roundtree is the newest representative. Graham Twine, who is a former member of this board, is on board. In fact, he had hoped to join us, but he still works, and he may walk in, and I think we've got a meal for him. Thank you very much. But at the last minute, he had some things he had to do, but sends his regards. So we want to partner with Gates, and we have a great partnership with Gates. We have some data that suggests that. Dr. Williams and I talk with some regularity. We send folks over to do a number of things. We have great partnerships in your school. A lot of your students finish their associate degrees before they get their high school diploma. In fact, Gates is probably the best per capita at that of our 7 counties. So we're doing services here, and we're partnering with the schools, but the opportunity, I think, is with adults, disaffected youth or disconnected youth. And so that's what I've asked Dean to prepare some numbers on, and I want to talk in generalities, but I really don't want to talk the whole time, because I think it's important that we hear what your vision for educational attainment is in Gates County. Now, I don't know if y'all have seen this, the latest My Future NC data. I don't know if you talked about it as a board.
We have not yet. I have talked with Dr. Jenkins some separately, so did the number of community parents.
Well, she'll go into it in much more detail, but Dr. Jenkins is your area representative, and we work with Dr. Jenkins as well. But this is the assessment of all 100 counties and where the opportunities are from a data perspective. And so just to give you a heads up, last year, with 7 counties, of course, we have representation throughout. So we had, I think it was 3 counties of our 7 were in the top. Well, let me back up and say that I got a call from the executive director of the My Future NC organization, and I'm going down the road, probably coming from Raleigh, just dying to get out of town, as we talked about, you know. So I'm going down the road, and she says, hey, you know, where, excuse me, where do you think your counties stack up in our list of 100? It's like, well, you know, I think we've got some that are doing very well, others that I wish we could work with a little differently, and, you know, so we went through it. And in one of the measures, we were top in the community college system. You know, we had some top achievement numbers, which was great. But then she segued into that list of 100. And she said, where does Gates fall, do you think? I was like, well, and you know the story probably. And I said, well, I don't know. I would say probably midpoint of the state, because they're out, you know, they're out there. They don't have the advantage of having a campus within a few minutes, but they're great to work with. We have an excellent partnership with the schools. They're really overachieving. And she said, would it surprise you to find out that Gates County is dead last Yeah, 100 out of 100 for educational attainment in North Carolina.
On the
I
wrong
said,
end of the scale.
I'm sorry?
On the wrong end of the scale.
The wrong end of the scale, yes. So I was like, yes, it would surprise me because when I think of and we're being recorded, so I'm not gonna name names, but when I think of my problem children, and I say that as a former teacher, who I have the difficulty working with, it's not Gates. And so when I heard that, I was like, well, I would have had other counties in our service area that I thought would have probably not been lower, would have been lower on the list. But ironically, we had 3 of the top 10 and dead last. And she was like, well, what's the difference? I don't know. So that's when we started really saying we need to dig into what this looks like. And Dean has become my data guru and manages the data pieces along that falls under stuff, by the way, VP of stuff. So we started looking at it, and we went back and questioned the methodology of My Future NC. We said, well, there's a different dynamic engaged. People are going across the state line. Have you looked at this from this perspective? And so they pushed back on the data, and we went back and forth, and data is only as good as the garbage in, garbage out. But I think it's useful to generate some conversation because in our minds, you are nowhere near 100 out of 100. And you're not at the bottom of our achievement list in 7 counties and ease of working with. Even though you have, oh man, that temptation. Thank you. Now I won't be able to think about anything. It's good. Yeah, it looks good. So I'm going to try to cover this up with the paperwork here. Try not to look at that while I'm talking. So, but we do have some opportunities to move forward. And this My Future NC data. So just the top opportunities, I wanted to highlight this, and I know Dr. Jenkins will talk more about this, but family sustaining wages. 34% of Gates County adults, 25 to 44, earn a family sustaining wage below the rural metro community average of 47%. There's an opportunity to work with adults. There's an opportunity to think about how we figure out some educational attainment that will help the wage earning. Adult earners. 27% of Gates County adults, 25 to 44, have some college, no degree. We've got people that have an opportunity to finish a certification, diploma, degree.
I'm on the list.
Are you on that list?
I'm on the list.
You're on the list? Well, we brought some recruitment material out here.
I am on the list.
Well, I can tell you who can help you get off that list. But I think, the example, the reality is not everybody needs a 4-year degree. The reality is not everybody needs a 2-year degree, and you may not even need a certification, but to have opportunities and to grow. So where does this fit? I got the 27% have some college, no degree. The average, if you're looking at your peer comparison, is 16%. So y'all are 9 percentage points above, 11 percentage points above. That's on the wrong side of that comparison. Top opportunities for growth for post-secondary enrollment. 41% of Gates County seniors enrolled in post-secondary education within 12 months of graduation, compared to 52% in comparison areas. And then it goes into math and some other things. But to me, those adults and those credentials are key to whatever we want to do in Gates to get that achievement, attainment higher. So I'm going to pause there because, one, I've been talking too long, but I want y'all to either respond to that, or how does this fit into the conversation, or where do you want to go with the conversation?
So what does that look like? Not only for myself and Emily, but for everyone else that I've talked to that's in the same situation. I'm 40 years old, and I was a couple credits away, and I said, heck with it, I don't need it. I'm in the workforce already, and I've done well with it.
Yeah.
What does that look like for somebody?
Mm-hmm.
Do you go back and pull up old credits? How does that, what is that?
Yeah, so from, if we wanted to have a conversation with individuals or help people try to figure out what they can finish, we'd have to start with the academic background. So that's first, how many credits do you have? Where are they from? What do we have the equivalent of, that type of thing.
I mean, and with that, like having a person in county to explain that would be incredibly in-house. And that's what Dr. Jenkins and I were moving forward with the conversation with Commissioner Roundtree was having that, like this kind of conversation, but having someone, we don't have a building, we don't have a footprint, but we get the person. Start with the person and have somebody available to give this information was kind of the direction we were looking at.
Absolutely. Well, and the secondary piece of that is that we would want to do some evaluation of work experience, military experience, other credentials maybe that you've earned that we could provide credit for. So we have some pathways. Are they perfect? No, but we try to give folks as much credit as we can. And so there are opportunities there. And then you want to, with adults, it has to be, how can we help you get to from where you are to where you want to go? That's where the work really comes in, because we have so many people in so many different situations. And that's the challenge with a facility in a far-flung area. Because what does that look like? Let's take your example, the two examples. What did you study? Where were you? What were you studying when you were in school?
Pitt Community College and Andrew Chilling.
Okay.
College, both of them. I studied industrial welding technologies. And
Gotcha.
I think I needed a math and English, something in that nature, and I would have had an associate's degree, but.
You chose, life intervened.
Yes.
But you would finish in that same arena. You would be looking to get an associate degree that would be applicable to what you've studied thus far. How about you?
I was halfway through sophomore year at Ranch One Community College, so close to the associates, and I went and got married. So mid-semester,
But it was associate in arts, associate in science.
We're looking at business administration.
Business administration.
The goal, then with the idea of transferring to paralegal studies later.
Okay. Well, you wouldn't be the first or last person that marriage plans change the trajectory or.
And I feel like that's the biggest hurdle in this county, is the people that leave, but they don't come back, so they don't bring their degrees back. Right. And the people that stay get married and quit, we don't finish.
Well,
Kind of
I think you're hitting on something that we've talked a good bit about. I mean, you look at that dynamic, the out-migration, I think, is your largest enemy with respect to how educational attainment is measured and how it affects the workforce attractiveness, if you will, of the county. Dean, I know you've done some work on this. Do you have anything to add?
No, I agree with when we previously dug into that, my future NC data. It wasn't that the county engaged. It's not that you were really low on attainment.
Right.
It's exactly what you just said. Is they're taking their degrees and leaving.
Right. So, and that's kind of where we're at, is we have older generations who are coming here, and then we have the children, the young population that aren't there yet. So the subset that stays typically doesn't finish the degree, and then the ones that do, we have a lot that thrive, but they just don't come back. So,
and I think a lot of this too is based off of, just like how we rode around today, and we got a chance to talk to we're an agriculture economy here.
right.
We got forestry, we got farming, we got a sawmill. And, unless you're running the actual business of a farm, majority of those kids are graduated high school, and that's good enough to be able to do that. My own oldest son, that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to farm, so he graduated high school and went to work for one of the local farmers. But on the other side of the spectrum, I have another son that's going to be graduating and going off to college next year. So he's got a different path. He wanted to walk a different path with that. So it's about the opportunities that the county in and of itself can provide to the people that are here. And then that kind of builds into the educational requirements that stay in the county. So if you don't have industries within the county in and of itself that are going to demand a highly educated individual that's gone off to several years of college and all that, then your odds of maintaining and holding those people in close to the county are few and far between. They're going to leave and go outside of the community where those opportunities exist. You know, even on my side of things, and me personally, I found opportunity outside of Gates County to grow my career, but I decided that I was willing to drive an hour every day to go to work. And that's perfectly fine, because, you know, Gates County is great because of our rural environment, and this is what I grew up in, and I didn't want to leave that. And I wanted to, you know, raise my own children in the same environment we have. So there are opportunities in the county to do, you know, make a decent wage. A farmhand these days isn't like it was back when our generations were all graduating high school. You know, it takes, just like how we were just out there at Todd's operation today, it takes a high skilled individual to know how to run this equipment now. And those individuals are making around $80,000 as a farmhand. And so, you know, I know that, you know, with the wages that my son makes, that those people command a fair salary now, and you don't have to have that education background. But what we really need to do as far as long term for our county is provide for the people that are here so that way they can educate their children in a way that they can provide for themselves and be productive citizens of the county or any county that they're going to. Is we got to give them those opportunities. And that goes back to being able to have partner with COA and to be able to have a remote campus here in the county, so that way that's been a lot of kids, because I'm fortunate enough where I've got one that just graduated, I got one that's getting ready to graduate, I got another one that's in high school, and the biggest thing that they hear from their peers is that they would rather not do the online. They want to be in class, and they want that interaction directly with the teachers, to be able to learn a little better and those type of things like that. And so I think, you know, we as the county commissioners are all in the same mindset, is that we want to give that opportunity to be able to bring COA here and have a physical place here within the county, so that way we can draw more kids into that environment and have them go through COA, and more of our kids graduate high school with their associate's certificate. That would be absolutely phenomenal to be able to do that. It's going to take time to get to that point, but we do have an end goal of getting to that point. And
that's what I was going to ask. Could you share a little bit on what we're hoping the study might allow? The consolidation. No.
All right. So in conjunction with the Board of Education, we've asked them to look into consolidating our elementary school. We do spend an awful lot of money in running 3 different schools. You know, our population in the county as far as the kids is getting a little smaller, so we felt like it may be better off for the money management of the county to possibly consolidate things down. So we've asked the schools to do that study. They're in the middle of that study now. It's going to be interesting to see how they come along with it. But I think with anybody taking a reasonable look at where we stand, we have 3 now, we can definitely go to 2. There is some discussion about possibly building a new school across the road from the high school, and then that way it would leave some empty spaces for educational purposes. And you know, I mean, this is just me talking here. I would like to see us turn T.S. Cooper into an early college and be able to provide that for our kids to go there. That's a long-term goal that we really want to see.
It's long-term, but it might be a more achievable goal if the consolidation study goes the direction we think it might, then planning out to have the funds to build a new building. Right. So this would put us on a more direct path, I think, to what our end goal is with COA and the partnership with COA.
And so in doing that, what we're also going to need from the COA is to understand what is the cost for the county that's going to be, not just, you know, it's a one-time upfront, we got to get everything up and going, and we can probably get some grants for all that to make it ready for it. But also, it's a yearly cost.
It is.
That's gonna have to, be burdened by the county bill.
It is, so let me say first, I admire you for thinking about what the end goal is, because I think too many times we start a project without a clear end in mind, so kudos to you, that's not as common as you would think it is, so as Covey reminds us, we need to begin with the end in mind when we're planning these projects, so love to hear that. And so we won't, another phrase I like to use is, let's don't let perfect stand in the way of good enough for now. We can make progress without getting to the end goal. So let me address the question of what does it take on a sort of a bear with me meandering place a little bit. So I think, well, I know that y'all have given about $7,000 exactly dollars. So that's less than 10. We're gonna, ask for an increase because we have to maintain the plants. And so to be quite candid with you, Pasquotank picks up, when we send your students to Pasquotank, they're taking all of those pieces that would be in the campus here and picking up what would be county responsibilities. There's state responsibilities, county responsibilities. So I don't have enough geographic knowledge and or economic knowledge to compare Gates economically with some of the other counties. But I know Roanoke Chowan has their main campus not too awfully far from here. They're asking one of their non-host counties for about $250,000 this year. They've been given 30, and they're gonna get it. So, because they know that the main campus even struggles because they're providing service for 3 counties. So you could take that as a say, that's even an all, I don't think they have a location in Northampton. So that's just a supporting county. So that's the expectation other counties have, or other colleges have. If you look at our operation, we get less from 7 counties than Beaufort Community College gets from 1 county. All of their support predominantly comes from Beaufort, over $4 million a year. That's their main campus, etc. Ours total is less than $4 million for 7 counties, including the 4 campuses. Those are just sort of benchmarking on either side of it. But if you had an Edenton Chowan campus, y'all familiar with our Edenton old school? Now, I have to be honest with you, it doesn't live up to what we hope for COA facilities. It needs a lot of work. It's always a challenge, but we have a presence, and the county has been supportive. That's 200, and don't hold me to the exact number. We get 237, or last year we got $237,000 to operate the facility, and it is always on a wing and a prayer. We can't really lose money on the facility. So we're at the 11th hour trying to get the last dollar that we need to justify that facility. We love the facility, committed to the facility. That's operational. Capital, we actually get $200,000 on top of that. So an old school to run that, and again, it's not what we would really hope for any of our, but it's $437,000 a year that small county puts into a facility. Now, Pasquotank, different animal, main campus. Currituck County, they do things, every one of our counties do things differently, so it's a little bit of a challenge to COA. Currituck campus, if you've been there, beautiful new, they built buildings, all of this, it's in the $300,000 operational, but they pick up a lot of services. So they do the grounds, they do all, so there are different models. And then you go down to Dare County, even nicer facilities. And, don't hold me to the number, but that's a different animal for a variety of reasons, but it's in the $450,000 operational, then they have their own capital. But because we generate enough FTE, well, in theory, we generate enough FTE to qualify, but we have a multi-campus determination, which means we get $600,000 a year from the state because of the operations of that campus promoted. So you have to get to a certain number to get there. And so, we're never going to get there at Edenton. We probably will get there eventually in Currituck. And so we're able to hire a dean, some additional security with state money, so it allows us to bring additional operations to bear. So that's kind of in our operation, but then you could go to another college and it's very different. Beaufort has 4 counties, 1 main campus, the Roper Center, most of their money comes from 1 county.
How many, students do you have in the Eden Chowan school?
So, you know, you would think students an easy answer, right? If you're talking about credit students, we have, you know, typical, you know, associate degree type credits. It's in the hundreds, but not very high. But we do a ton of students, and I'm using air quotes again, not that they're any less important, but we do a lot of prison training and other things where we bring hundreds of people to that, which is something that you need to keep in mind. When we say students at a community college, it could be kids in a camp are not really students, but we serve those folks that could be a 70-year-old coming back or something that just helps them to, you know, work on their jewelry business or their hobby or whatever. But FTE is really what we measure the difference by. And when you get multi-campus, you have to get 300 FTE. In our Edenton Chowan campus, because some of this other stuff doesn't really feed the FTE, it's really, really low. And which is the challenge when it comes to sort of divvying up what the cost is. And, you know, part of a supplement for me and the driving of the Jeep that I have and the Jeep that is a college car really gets allocated to the counties. And this is where we're, you know, looking to increase. Dean had the numbers pulled, and I've got a number just for you guys to think about. Not that nobody's chewing up food. I don't want you to choke on anything, but in Gates we generate 113 FTE full-time. I'm sorry, full-time equivalent students. Thank you. I apologize.
That's what I was thinking.
No, you're right. It's easy to do that. Thank you. Call me on any abbreviation. I fuss at Dean and the others all the time. So awful. So we generate FTE with the students that are in the high schools and the others that come to the campus. But some of the colleges, Roanoke, Chowan, how they come up with that big number, they were getting a lot of students from Northampton. So I said, well, let's apply that to see what Gates would be, what the other counties would be, who's paying the fair share. I'm gonna use air quotes again. I gotta stop doing it. I'm on an air quote kick. It's awful when you're recording it. Sorry, people at home, if you watch this later. But right now, $7,000. If you look at it by FTE, and there's a bunch of ways to skin a cat, full-time equivalent. The equivalent, we took the number of students generated or FTEs generated in Gates and applied it to what it takes to operate the facilities that we currently have. 7,000 is what you give. 4.4% of the total operations would be $138,000. So really Gates is getting $130,000 worth of benefit on behalf of Pasquotank and Chowan, and some students go further, but those are the 2 main campuses and sending our folks. So if you do it by students, it's comparable. It's like 127. Now, we're not applying that methodology. I'm not coming back and asking for 100, unless you tell me I can't. But, but we're going to try to bring that into alignment a little bit. So somewhere between 7 and a campus like Edenton Chowan, there's a lot of ground, $437,000. And that's for a shoestring operation with an old building and all of that. So that kind of establishes the ditches. Now, I tell this story only as an illustration. That doesn't mean this is what I'm pushing you to think about. But a number of years ago in South Carolina, I shared with some of you that I had 28 years in the South Carolina Technical College. We had 7 counties at my last college. We did have a facility in each county that each county maintained and worked on. Our poorest county and the one that was the farthest away was historically minority campus. or county. So most of the folks were African American. They had a rich part of the county, which was right across from Georgia. They were actually the first county in South Carolina that had fiber optics throughout the whole county. Now, most of it was dark. They didn't use it, but they had it. So they made strategic investments. They had an early college. We call it a middle college in South Carolina, but they had it in an old school. It was successful. They were proud of it, and they did great work. So I met with their commissioners along with our president. I was in the roles not too dissimilar from Dean's. And they wanted an automotive program, and they wanted the same discussion on their campus, but most of it ended up being university transfer because that's easier and cheaper to do. But they wanted automotive, and they wanted, I can't remember the list. And we would say, well, to just get a lift would be several $100,000. To find somebody to teach it here would be, how many students do you think you could have? 4. Well, we can't build an automotive program for 4 students. There's just no economics in the world that are going to support that. So somewhere along the way, I said, one of the things I'd like for you to consider, and I think this is a consideration for some things, not the only answer, but for some of those workforce programs, we said, why don't you think about how the commissioners could get students to the other campuses or adults to the other campuses. And they ended up choosing that route. So they would send a bus. My office was on the 2nd floor of the building, the administration building. Every morning, that county would pull in with a bus. Students would get off the bus. They'd go do whatever they were doing. Like 5 hours later, they would come on the bus, and then they were back to the county. So you have some intermediate things that you can help adults or, recently graduated students. You can outfit buses with Wi-Fi, and, you can do schoolwork going down the road. So there may be some intermediate steps to what your ultimate goal is. And I would encourage you to at least keep those in your mind. If that's not an answer, it's not an answer. But there is a way to reach some of these students with an in-person location, somebody who can help, with credit, translation, we'll call it. There may be a space that we can stand up to do some online things, but, some things can't be done online. And it doesn't make a sense to add a welding lab when you don't have enough, enough people to do it. So I kept talking. That's already 1 o'clock.
No, you're good. I was just checking to see if our next person's in here.
Is that him?
No, he's at. He
Yeah,
is.
she's been sitting outside for a while.
Okay. Yeah, we're just now getting there. Just happened over the time.
So can I ask a question too? So you got to the end where I was gonna leave and I've learned to shut up. You got to the end, what I was concerned about is the cost of buildings and potential to get people to other places. I'm an old guy, 64, bad knees. When I was in high school in Portsmouth, Virginia, 9th grade before I switched to Suffolk, Catawba Community College used to have evening classes at the high school. I mean, is that an option that we could explore if we don't want to pay the big cost of maintaining buildings, et cetera? And potentially also could have a transportation system to other campus, but is there not a possibility for?
Yeah, absolutely there's a possibility. In fact, I would tell you that that's a better possibility because we have a good partnership with the school. We've already talked about some of those things. If we can, again, the challenge is lessened because you have a location. You might have some equipment that we could use, so you don't have to equip it with some things. Now, personnel and, keeping somebody to keep an eye on things, much more affordable than standing up another location. Then it becomes, in our terminology, it's an off-campus location. We have certain accreditation that we have to do, but it's not standing up a campus.
See, and that's where Dr. Newton and I were having a conversation. We had gone with, the end goal would be ideal, has to be here. But until then, a person that can start, whether that's someone coming in just educating on how to connect to college, or if it's a person coming in doing classes, that kind of thing, starting with someone versus a footprint, because we obviously can't go from nothing to a full school. But there's steps and there's stages in between. I think knowing, like you said, where we want to end up, but looking at the alternative solutions for now could be helpful and move us forward much more quickly. Than
Absolutely. I think there's certainly things that we can do in the short term, and capitalizing on the relationship that we have with the school is you know, is powerful. And we really would love that, to do that. Now, again, we're gonna have to focus on what is it that we would do. Need some help communicating to folks, because the last thing we wanna do is have courses where we try to find a faculty member and we have 3,
Right.
you know, so it becomes a challenge. But I think well-planned and well thought out helps it be well executed so that we can, you know, have an end goal. I wanted to mention, and Scott's probably mentioned it, we've talked several times, and I would really love to see this as we continue this conversation. Love to have you guys on any or all of our campuses. You know, maybe to the agricultural tour, maybe the educational tour.
We actually usually plan on coming.
We would love to,
Oh, y'all
yeah.
already did?
We had hoped to, and it didn't work out schedule-wise for us to do that, 'cause it was supposed to be today, I think, right?
Oh, it's
Yeah,
today.
it was supposed to be today, and it didn't work out with things,
Okay.
but that would be awesome, and I do think that having another at the table conversation, maybe August, July, once we finish this budget and begin looking forward, I think would be nice to have another, to take some of these ideas and add, like, kind of build them out a little bit
Yeah.
as we go forward. Obviously, budget is primary right now, but as soon as budget is over, I think it would be nice to have these discussions.
Okay, I had one more
Yeah,
question
sure.
that I'd like to, so part of this, like you're talking about skills training, so like automotive and stuff. Granted, I can imagine the challenge might be for y'all to have an adjunct that's gonna come all the way over here.
Right.
I mean, is there not reasonably the opportunity for some of those adjunct instructors to be right here from Ann Arbor?
We would welcome that opportunity. In fact,
I'm thinking
that would
we
be the most,
We actually have quite a few very talented people, I think, in automotive and other stuff that could easily perform that function. And them being local, they could also potentially see potential hires and help with placement of people that are looking for work afterwards.
well, one of the challenges, the major challenge that we have is finding qualified adjuncts that will work on the community college scale. Because if they want to work a few extra hours, they could probably make more elsewhere, which is a challenge. And it's a real one. But if we can find local folks, local talent, people that are retired and want to give back to whatever it is, I think that's a key.
We have a host of retired school teachers that come back and do something for just general education stuff. And I'm sure many of them probably have master's degree or above, but at the very least have competent ability to teach some of the more lower level.
We got people that
And
are pipe fitters and plumbers, things that can teach these type of, programs.
And I don't wanna rush it along too much, but we do have the next one,
Yeah.
in the hallway, but I think we could put all this kind of stuff, ideas down on paper, come together again sooner than later. To have those.
I'd like to see, let's talk about some firm numbers. I realize
Yeah.
you gave a whole host of things, but something that would say, if you were gonna do just a transportation option, here's what you're likely to see. If you are gonna facilitate, I don't know, X number of classes at your high school, here's what you need to pay. That type of thing, something that would help us in trying to gauge this versus going in blindly. And depending upon, again, the closure of school, if we close one elementary school, that might free up some budget for some of that sooner rather than later, to
Sure.
make some of that happen. So
Yeah,
giving us some more concrete.
I like your idea as far as a plan forward to, we understand what the end goal is. So how is it that we develop that plan? Who needs, because, every plan needs to have a champion.
Sure.
And so who is it that needs to be involved in generating that and maintaining that plan as far as from the time we have what we have now to having a full-fledged, here's a campus in your county, and the steps that needs to go from point A to point B.
Well, I think we can certainly help with that. I would love to continue these kind of conversations, maybe a little more time next time,
Yes,
visit our
yes.
campus. We'll show you some facilities. I think it would be helpful to have you guys maybe at Eatonton through Currituck, maybe not all the way to Dare, and see the level of expense and what's required to have a welding lab. And so we can talk to some of our other experts.
I did hear you
We
see-
are often invited to commencement
hear you
ceremonies
see
as well. If you guys would take up, the invitations to attend some of these commencement ceremonies, it's nice to just kind of see what the staff, who the staff are and what comes out of there. I've attended a couple and it's.
And thank you for doing that. We try to extend that. We'd love to have you, and maybe we can work something around one of those one day and have a little bit of a reception and conversation. But I know our time is over.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
And I'm sure that there's a rule that says I shouldn't do this, but I'm taking this with me.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, $7,000.
Yeah. Good to see you, sir. Appreciate your time. I'm sure there's some etiquette that says that I'm. No, it's not. I get to talk to them. I hope it was helpful. Though.
It was, I look forward to putting that together. Well,
Thank you. You can't have it. Hey, it's good to see you. Take care.
That little cake thing.
I could, yeah, I had that exam.
Depends on if you want to. 1 point or not.
Thank you so much.
There you go.
Sorry, I wasn't, this is from the public building that huge report,
Yeah.
Hey, do we?
And I can let you know, we are recording this year's video, and it's gonna continue rolling as we. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I usually bring one in, but I didn't bring my brief.
Now, all the great extra is mine, run back, so
If it's a good one, I'll probably return.
well, Joe Lee ordered those last year, so it's county,
So what was that gentleman's name?
Dr. Bagwell,
Bagwell.
Dr. Jack Bagwell. And he is a phenomenal source of information. But we are gonna move into the Tri-County Animal Shelter, portion as soon as I finish writing.
And let me say, we are blessed in Gates County to have this 3-county partnership with Chilliwack and Perquimans. And Dana and her staff do a wonderful job. And she was very helpful to me as the board wanted to transition toward a change in the way we deliver services. And she actually helped me find Mr. Parker. And we're grateful for what he does and the relationship that we have. But animal control and shelter services, I should say shelter and adoption services work hand in hand. And we've got we are, I can tell you some horrible animal shelter. We are super blessed to have this program.
I agree.
So just a little bit, I'm Dana Comer, I'm the director of Tri-County Animal Shelter. I've been with the shelter off and on for about 8 years. I was here for 5, left for 5, and I've been back for 3. I'm just gonna jump right into budget. As everyone is asking for money, so am I. The caveat to this is, the nice thing is, you get to split it 3 ways between 3 counties. So I'm not asking Gates County to absorb all the expense. A little backstory, the 24-25 budget, the things that we projected to be done for the shelter, we have accomplished all of those things with the exception of the expansion of our feral cat, of our cat room. We were gonna make a community cat room. And we had projected about $20,000 to do that. We did not do that because the money needed to be spent elsewhere. And one of those things was we bought $50,000 worth of new cat towers. If any of you, I don't know if you've been to the shelter, I would invite you to come and see what happens there on a day-to-day basis. The shelter, from what I can go back to, originally started in the 80s, and we have the original things from the 80s. This is 2025. Talking about 2026 budget. It's time to start changing some things. As we're not gonna get a new shelter, not asking for a new shelter. I'm very happy with the location that we are, but we've got to update the things that are in the shelter at this given time. And the things that we have accomplished, we put a new building out back. I call it a garage. It's a metal building that was, completed. That project has been done. Expand the cat room, that is what we did not do. We painted the exterior of the building, that has been done, and we had to seal the sidewalks. That was almost $10,000. It was a little over $9,000. You're like, why are you epoxying the sidewalks? We answer to a state inspector, Dr. Patricia Norris, out of Raleigh. That is one of the things that we have to have done as per our state inspection, along with the other things that I'm asking for. I'm not asking because they make us pretty and new and it's a Dana want, it's a need directed to us from our state inspection. So that's why we spent the $9,000 on the sidewalk, because you cannot sanitize porous concrete. So that's why that money was spent that way. We've tried multiple products over the years and they just never work. And epoxying those sidewalks will keep that so we can keep it sanitized. And I'm excited about our new cat towers that are coming. The projected date is they'll be finished by May 29th to be shipped the first week of June. So super excited about that. So you'll see those if you all come to the shelter, really excited. One of the things on our state inspection, we're inspected every year. Typically they come in the fall. Our state inspector showed up this year in January, didn't have a clue. It's fine, we were ready. It's not a big deal. We did superb. There are a few things that she pointed out. None of them are to get worried, overly concerned about. But one of the things is our dog kennels. If you've been there, it's all chain link. We're beyond the day of chain link. If you walk in any of your newer shelters in Currituck, even in Elizabeth City, they're typically glass fronts with stainless steel sides, stainless steel across the top, and some of them have covers. Ours are not sanitary as best we can, and from the perspective of noise and a cohesiveness in the shelter, I'm asking for new kennels for this next coming budget. It's about $52,000. I brought it with me somewhere in all of this. I tried to grab everything that I had. It's a little over $52,000, and it is for new kennels throughout the shelter.
How many kennels is that?
So the shelter right at the moment, here it is, I know I had it. I'll just pass this around and you can look. The shelter at the moment can house 27 dogs. We take in over 1,400 animals a year from all 3 counties. And we're a staff of 5. And for the last 3 months, we've been a staff of 3. So it's a lot happening there. So that's one of the things we're asking for. Another thing is $8,000 for new computers and printers. The shelter's computers that we have now will not support Windows 11, which we are going to. Our IT department gave me the estimate on that, and that's what I have put in our budget for this coming year. So it's about $8,000 for new computers. And lastly, the other big ticket item is back in 2000, when was Isabel? 23 years ago, whatever that was. That's when the roof was put on the shelter. It's time to replace it. We have been fortunate up to this point. We don't have any leaks, and it's it's doing its job. But we're on borrowed time. The life expectancy of a roof is 20 years. I have a quote from Perry's Roofing, and I've called several. It's $13,100. And when we met for the Shelter Advisory Board meeting, we talked about the architectural shingles being on that. That quote is for architectural shingles, so that is correct.
May I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Where does Gates fall on this with the 52,000? It has a children's room up here, but I don't see a Gates.
So this is him, this is Stephen, our
So
sales
it's just-
rep.
Okay,
Yeah, this, and if you see, I think, did you see how he spelled Perquimans?
I did
It
see.
says Perquim.
Perk Women's.
Right.
Perk Women's
So,
Room.
I
PERK.
don't pay any attention to that. So the shelter is divided into 3 sections. Chillon section, gate section, and Perquimans section. It doesn't mean the animals
Right.
that come from Gates County stay in that section. They're moved throughout the shelter where is needed. But to answer the question, 27 kennels is what we have now. With these new kennels, we're gonna have 28 because we have the room actually in the gate section to add another kennel, which we need. The gating is already there. We're gonna enclose it so we can utilize that space for
So the
that.
new kennels, you said 52,000.
It's a little over 52.
52.8 or something like
Well,
that.
But that is divided between all the counties, or you're asking 50?
No,
No.
it's divided between all 3 counties. So it would be the little over 52 plus the 13 plus the 8 is split 3 ways.
65, 73, so it was.
Yeah, it's
28
about-
to 30,000 by the time you. get all the way around.
And let me just say this, anybody that follows the shelter over the years, we have had an incredibly long list of things that needed to be accomplished. We have put checks in all of those boxes, which has been amazing. And we're down to the final things here. And I'm anticipating for the next budget year, it's gonna be super simple. I wanna paint and rewrap our new van. It's little things like that. So this isn't something I'm asking for ongoing. It's just, we gotta get through this. Because like I said, we're not gonna get a new shelter. With that being said, Shelter Love is the new program that we have implemented and started using in June and July of last year. The nice thing about Shelter Love, it has a donate button on it, and people can donate online, and they have been, which is huge to us. The donation money, if I'm correct, when I looked at it right before I left, we're about $28,000 in donation money in that line item alone. That money is used to offset spay neuter. What leads into that is our adoption fee is $125. To spay a dog and neuter a dog, it starts at $200. So the shelter is not in a position that we are making money. It's an expense. And here's the price list for grants that we're using, if that'll give you an idea of what we're paying for. And that's just spay and neutering. We spay and neuter the animals that have been adopted. We don't spay and neuter every animal that comes into the shelter because not every animal makes it out of the shelter. So it's just, once the adoption fee has been paid, then those animals go on to our surgery list and will be altered. Are you all familiar with the AWARE program? Does anybody know? AWARE is the nonprofit group that works very closely with Tri-County Animal Shelter. AWARE stands for Animal Welfare of the Albemarle Region Every Day. They have a low-cost spay-neuter program for people in our communities, and it's only available to Gates, Perquimans, and Chilliwack County. They get an application, in return they get a voucher, they can be used at any of the local vets, we'll honor them. Also Pasquotank and Raymond's honor those vouchers. AWARE does things above and beyond spaying and neutering. They have an enrichment program for the shelter, which they give money to. One of the big purchases they did for the shelter not long ago was bought all new Coranda beds for our dogs in the shelter. Those are the raised beds, so the dogs aren't lying on the floor. They purchased those. The next thing we are going to do, and I'm happy to say that Aware is paying for. In our new garage, it's slammed full. And it needs some semblance in there, which means shelves need to be made, lights need to go in, things such as that. I have an estimate for over $500 worth of lumber. Aware is gonna pay for that lumber, so that project can happen. And that is happening from the generosity of volunteers in our communities that are gonna come out and build this. I have an engineer who is heading up this program, or this project, and he's overseeing it, but Aware is paying for that. So we're not asking for that. Secondly, we're gonna have lights put in there. $773 to have electricity run in there. Aware is also paying for that. I purchased the lights off of Amazon as per our maintenance person's recommendation, what to buy. I bought the lights, we're just waiting to start that project. So that is coming. And if any of you, as far as Aware is concerned, Barbara Yates was the president of Aware. She loved animals far more than she loved people. And Barbara passed away this past year from pancreatic cancer. And Aware is putting, or has put, this out back in Barbara's memory. The building is up. We're just waiting for these little fancy pieces in the corner to go in, and then we'll have a ribbon cutting ceremony. And I will invite all of you to come, and I would love it if you would just support the efforts of that. But again, $2,500 right here, and Aware's paid for that. And this goes out in this pavilion, and I'll pass it around if you want to see. I'm gonna pass all these around. That is in our big play yard that's been fenced in, so when the dogs are taken out, they have a place to get out of the sun. And people who are interested in adopting, we have a picnic table out there that can sit under that pavilion and interact with our animals. So that's one of the things that Aware has done and continues to support us with. Another project, and I hope to get this done this year, but within the next few months. When the state inspector comes out, you cannot have exposed dirt. And I call it the runway. If you come out the back of the shelter, there is a runway that leads to the big play yard. It's warm, we have dirt there. I've gotten a quote from Lazy Weekends to come out. They're gonna dig that down, I believe he said 6 inches. I call it tar paper, but it's not tar paper, it's fabric for the ground to keep the weeds from growing, and they're gonna put crush and run in there. It's a little over $7,000 to have this done. It's a good, have you seen that? It's a good.
It's a nice size space, yeah.
It is a nice
It's
size
a good
space.
area coverage.
And they're gonna put, I call them bumpers, but it's not a bumper, it's a rail to keep the crush and run in there so it doesn't go out of the fenced-in area. So that is happening, is one of the projects I hope to get done before we start next year's budget, and I will send that around. And let's see, what else do I have? Oh, here's the estimate for the roof, if anyone needs to see that. Notice that.
And remind me again, like, you said it was 23 years ago, it was last.
It was, the roof was replaced after Isabel, and I only found that out because evidently Perry's Roofing is the one who did it.
Okay.
So he knew when he came out, he's like, yeah, this was replaced after Isabel, that's when all the roofs were replaced. And no one else seemed to know that, but Mr. Perry did know because he had done the work previously. So those are the things that we're asking for. And again, just remember, it's split 3 ways, so I'm not asking Gates County to absorb all the expense. And these are changes that just need to happen as per our state inspector for our new dog kennels when she came in. I have the state inspection report, if anyone does need to see that. But because it's chain link, it has a tendency to rust. You can't have rust. So everything, she's like, you have to paint all these. Have you all ever painted chain link?
We tried it one time.
Okay, well, I've painted that shelter before, that chain link, and it's a nightmare. It is a nightmare. Because A, you can't have any animals in there, which means all of your animal control are gonna stop working. So that project can happen. But she did say in our state inspection that, you know, that needed to be painted. So I just took it to the next level. It's time for new dog kennels. Truly, it is. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, please come by and visit the shelter and see. This is all original stuff from the 80s. It's time.
And I mean, it's well maintained, it's been cared for, but it still has a expiration.
It definitely has an
But
expiration.
she does a phenomenal job, the shelter is very clean, it's very maintained, it's in great order. So if you do have a chance to go, I encourage you, it's a great tour.
Well, thanks.
So you said 1,400 animals a year?
We've taken over 1,400. If I'm not mistaken, I think the number was 1,423 last year.
So do you see an influx more in one county than the other?
So, I knew you were gonna ask me that.
Yeah.
So I pulled from January up until 2 days ago. Gates County has a part-time animal control officer. They, from January to 2 days ago, have brought in 1 less animal than the 2 full-time animal control officers in Clemens County. So from January to 2 days ago, it was 83 animals. Chowan, on the other hand, has 2 full-time. They were at 110 for the same time frame, and per Clemens County was at 84.
So it's pretty,
Yeah, and I will say,
I'm sure it fluctuates too.
Officer Parker is doing a good job. He hit us hard a few months ago with the micro bullies. That's done, we've taken care of that. But he is only working part-time, and he's keeping up with what 2 full-time animal control officers are doing for the other 2 counties. So, I mean, hats off to him. So I think that he's doing a good job.
Yeah.
Organizationally, Chowan County takes the lead on the administrative roles since the building's in Chowan County. And I know you're actually a Chowan County
President,
employee,
I am.
as I guess your other staff are as well. So Chowan carries that overhead of payroll, of maintenance, of purchasing, and that's a large responsibility that they have. And back to the state inspection, again, under the statutes and the relationship we have, if a county's gonna have an animal shelter, we're required by law to meet the Department of Agriculture, the state veterinarians, rules and regulations, and with only a few exceptions, they're pretty rigorous.
Now, as far as, with it being in Chowan County, you might educate me a little bit as far as, how that works. Is it pretty much Chowan County pretty much, then we as Gates County reimburse Chowan County back, or we actually write a check straight to the animal shelter for them?
No, no, I don't get your check. I wish I did.
We
but I
pay
don't.
Chowan County.
You did.
So
pay Chowan County.
Chowan County actually pays for, like, for instance, the new roof. They'll be paying for the new roof, and then Gates County has to send Chowan County a check for our portion of
Well,
that.
we would budget it and split it 3 ways.
Yeah.
What is, Chowan County saying as far as these new expenditure items?
I'm gonna be very forthcoming with you. We have these shelter advisory board meetings, usually quarterly. And I typically don't get a lot of pushback. I have been incredibly fortunate to have the buy-in from all 3 counties. It's been amazing. And that's how we're able to get these checks in these boxes that we are getting done, because the counties have been supportive of the things. But I will tell you, it's not just Tri-County Animal Shelter's doings. Aware sits on that board, and those women are like pit bulls. I mean, they are passionate about the things that happen at that shelter, and they'll come to you. I mean, trust and believe. Barbara was on it. Mary Jo Sellers is an Edenton resident. They are on it as far as having an improvement. You know, Mary Jo would like to see a shiny new building. And I often say, a shiny new building is great, but a shiny new building is not everything. It's the practices that happen within those four walls is what matters. I don't care about a new building. I just want what I have taken care of, and I want it to present well to our residents, because that's how we're saving animals. And truth be told, that is my job, is to find these animals homes. I don't come to work every day to euthanize animals. My goal is to rehome these animals. And if the shelter doesn't look good on the inside, that's a reflection on me, which I'm not willing to have a negative reflection. And we want to put animals out in the community that are healthy and have had all the things that they need to have done to be out in the community. And truly it is a reflection on all three counties, truth be told.
And from a budget strategy standpoint, what we've done traditionally, this will be my third year, so it's not much of a tradition. It's just sort of what Scott Sauer is first. Is that for our capital, we've tried to pay the bulk of those one-time expenditures by using appropriated fund balance. And we've done a number of those for the projects that Public Buildings does through Crystal Phillips. So that those, if approved, those one-time expenses would be added to the fund balance. And as with the budget you received this evening, the fund balance still grew by over $200,000 for the general fund this year, after utilizing a number of projects that were supported through the appropriated fund balance. So, and again, we'll bring you eventually a matrix of all these different capital requests, so you all can say, well, let's try to do this one or this one, or and y'all just prioritize it and tell us what to do. But we'll bring in a complete list.
I had a couple comments from this camera. One is what y'all do is great. It's wonderful. My wife and kids, big time animal lovers. Like I told you, me, not so much.
Sure.
I don't hate animals by any means. But I think the part about the chain link fences replacement, I think that really obviously something that seems like a kudo. The part about the gravel seems a filler. The only thing I have reservations about is the roof, and being quite frank. Every engineer or anybody who's been a homeowner has always heard, yeah, you try to get roofs replaced every 20 years or so. Having said that, my roof's 28 years old on my home. Previous home I had, it was 30 years before I replaced that. And I know my brother complained that he had to replace his roof after only 25 years. I think it was him that said that to me. The only thing I'm saying is a 20-year roof replacement really a real need, or is that more of a want? And you said that you already have any leaks yet. And that'd be the only thing I'd question is do we really need to replace that this year? Or is that if we're building $52,000 worth of new kennels this year, maybe we do a roof replacement next year, et cetera, et cetera.
I think that's something for you all to decide what is the priority. And I'm gonna say, are we proactive and we do it before it becomes $150,000 replacement because of leaks and so on and so forth? I mean, I don't know what a roof, this was all a learning curve to me, because I learned about the architectural shingles and everything. I don't know what it could lead into. But I will tell you this, it was ironic, after the last storm we had, and I had knocked on wood, we've been so fortunate, I felt the same way. Can we push this off one more year? And I walk out into the parking lot and there sits a shingle. And I'm like, okay, here we go. So I just have left it alone. I don't see where it came from.
So we might have a leak in progress.
So I don't know the answer to that, truth be told. I think that is a decision that the commissioners have to make. What is the priority? I mean,
Yeah, we can have a couple more minutes, but we
I'm
have.
just asking the question. I wasn't looking for you to give an answer.
sure,
I got two questions.
sure.
How many tabs of the shingles have you had to come out there and have to replace the tabs?
I don't know what a tab
Have
is.
have you had the roofer actually come and replace anything on the roof yet?
I have not, no.
All right.
So when Mr. Perry came out, and the goal is to always get 3 estimates. So Koala Roofing was the first company I called. They said they
I
wanted
know
to.
the areas, they're good people. And,
Yeah. So I haven't had anything replaced on it at this point in the game.
So if I asked you, which one would you rather have, the roof replaced or the kennels?
Well, I think it's obvious what I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna pick the kennels because that's what people are gonna focus on. That's what the community sees. Do I think the roof is important? Absolutely, I do. But it really is, you know, a stitch in time saves nine, as my mom used to say, and you just,
But just, you know, I gotta say, that Nathan's point well taken. I bought my house. I thought, oh, the roof's a little old. This is in 2011, the current house I'm in. I bought the house. I said, oh, the roof's a little old. I might have to replace it. Now I won't have to. Well, next year, a storm hit, and I had to replace a bunch of shingles. Edwards Roofing came and fixed mine. And he says, you may have to replace this roof shortly. That was 2011.
right,
I haven't had to have another repair. I haven't had a leak or anything else.
right.
And we might want to check with Chubb, since they are the building.
Yeah.
Let's look at it. And
And they are hostess, good point,
Yeah, they're
Mr.
all
Sowers,
partner.
that if they're hostess, they say, we really want to have this happen, then I think we sort of have a responsibility as
To
a.
do our part.
Yeah, but at the same time, if we can say, hey, that's not a crisis, the kennels really are, the other part really
And I think
are.
it's fair to say, if there's not, if it's projecting ahead, you don't see that there's gonna be a big ask next year, then knowing that we can split these projects up potentially with the most, like, prioritize one now and doing
We'll
that.
have plenty of things to negotiate when we get to the convenience centers and the
Yeah.
equipment that we own. And this will seem like a piece of cake compared to that.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very
Thank you.
welcome, you're very welcome.
Thank you for what you do.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and truly, I do invite all of you to come out and see what is happening at that shelter. I'm pretty proud of that shelter from where it's come from and where we are. So come out, have an interest in what's happening there and see. So, and I appreciate your time very much, and be happy with whatever
Thank
you
you.
Yeah. whatever you choose. Thank
They
you,
do have a
guys.
Facebook page too.
They do.
Yeah, so if you, look them up on Facebook, try and hang out and
I just had it.
And we have, instead of taking a break this time, we're gonna roll right into forestry conservation.
Oh, no, I mean, if you guys need a break, look, I know what it's like sitting in
No,
there.
we're good.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're good to roll right into forestry.
But hey, man, it's looking different.
So, I think unless you need a break, because you've been sitting for a while too, so.
Oh, no, I was just saying, you know, it's good to offer the break, but
Yeah,
I'm the kind of person that like, I would prefer if the talkers just kept on.
yeah, I agree, like, you're here, let's
Yeah.
just turn and look this direction now, and,
And we operate under a contract.
Oh, yeah, I'll get into that.
yeah.
Okay, so my name is Scott Sheets. And is it gonna offend anybody if I just stand up?
No, please do what you like.
Sorry, I just, it's hard for me to sit and talk at the same time. I don't know why that is. It just makes me feel, I don't know, like I'm not presenting something. And not that I am presenting anything, I just kind of like this round table, this talk, it just kind of like takes my anxiety off to stand up. So, Scott Sheets, I've been with the Forest Service for 27 years. I've been in Gates County for 25. And, so what I'm gonna do is just give a 30,000 foot overview of the Forest Service for people who may not be versed in it very well. So there's 100 counties in the state, and every county has Forest Service involvement. So every county we're kind of like a contract with the counties. It's a MOU, so to speak. So you got 100 counties, you got 3 regions. You got the coast is region 1, the Piedmont is region 2, and the mountains is region 3. So we're obviously in the coast. Then there are 13 districts. So I operate under D7. In region 1, there's 4 districts, starting from South Carolina is D8, next is D4, D13 is around Stumpy Point, Terrell, and then D7. In D7, we got 9 counties. We got 6 trackers, which is a little bit of a problem, but we're not here to talk about the problems that the Forest Service has. And with the 100 counties, we just had a cooperator meeting about a month and a half ago. It might have been a little bit shorter than that. My time's blurred together because of this burn ban I've been on for almost 2 months straight. But 40% of the Forest Service employees at this moment are 5 years or less with experience. That's where we're in a really, really bad spot. I have a position open. I've been senior ranger. They call it county ranger. I don't really like to differentiate. We're all rangers. I've been senior ranger for 18 years. In that 18 years, I've been fortunate enough to have 2 assistants, which is pretty good because the average assistant span right now is 2 years. They get hired, they come on, they figure out what we're about. And when you're young and fire seasons or hurricane seasons or whatever season the Forest Service decides to dictate you're going to be on or dispatched, it's very hard when you're young. But anyhow, my position, this is the 3rd posting. I had interviews yesterday, I got interviews tomorrow, but it's been open for 10 months now, almost a year. And I don't anticipate, unless something really blows me out of the water, anything coming out tomorrow. So it's very likely that this will go to repost. And one of the things you said earlier about when you were talking about the community colleges and family member just stepping into farming. This 3rd post I called Dalton, you were Dane. I called Dane and I said, hey, look, man, is Dalton doing anything? And when I told him the starting salary, which is $39,000, Dane was like, yeah, he's so it's difficult. Anyhow, in the 18 years that I've been here, as senior ranger here, we've always maintained a really good working relationship with the county. I think, Mr. Sauer, I think we had this discussion shortly after I introduced myself. I believe you were the 16th or 17th county manager since I've been in.
I'm trying to win the contest.
Sounds right.
So, I mean, it's been kind of one of those things where, just turning over and making sure that, and one thing I've always tried to express with the county manager is, and like the reason that I'm here today is you guys requested to see who I am and what we do and what we spend money. So the way that the things work between the counties and the state is it's a cooperators agreement that I know chair signs, I believe chair signs, county manager signs. Have you seen the agreements, what they look like or anything? Probably not.
I haven't had the opportunity as of yet.
I didn't, this is last year's and I only have one of them. But it just outlines what the responsibilities are from the state standpoint and what the county is agreeing to.
I expect to learn a lot more about what these look like over the next
And really, this
is,
this is really, I mean, it's just a basic form that starts the cooperator agreement. And our main role is fire suppression. And I guess when I talk about our budgets, So, you guys all have a copy of the budget. I think I make sure to bring 6 or so copies so that when you guys look at them, and I'll start with, the first page is always, and they break it out between operational funding and then basically your salaries, your, Medicare, or your insurances and stuff like that. The first page is pretty much handed from the state. We can't change anything on that. Those increases are set by Raleigh, and then they're pushed back out. And then our operational funds are a continuation of what we had the previous year, usually plus anywhere between 3 and 7 or 8%, because we can't dictate the cost of doing business anymore. It fluctuates too much. The only time, and this happens to be one of them, that you're going to see a increase higher than that percentage is truck replacements. And when the trucks are due, it's fairly high. Brand new trucks have went through the roof. And well, it doesn't really matter to me, but I don't understand why they don't buy commercial vehicles. What they do is they buy 350s with a regular cab, buy a mechanic's body, and have them swapped, and then they sell back the bed or something. That's out of my hands, but that is one thing, you know, that always was a curiosity to me, why they don't just get a commercial vehicle.
You get a better utility money.
Oh, really? Okay, well then, I'm glad I said something, because nobody's ever, you know, I'm always like, I can go right down the road and see them all day long, you know. Anyhow, so truck replacements will be an increase. And what I tend to do is this, when we sit down and we do the budgets, and we roll through, and I don't have anything like a truck budget or anything significant, then when I hand it in to finance, I don't really say much other than this is the new budget for this year. You know, if you got any questions or concerns, give me a call. This budget has an increase of about $12,000. And the reason that is, this year alone, I've had to reinstall from the meter to the office and then to the septic tank all new water lines. Right after I did that, my heat pump failed this winter. So I just had a new heat pump put in. So I've pretty much blown the budget. And when I sat down for this one, I'm gonna try R&R with us, which is repair and renovation. They may pick it up, but they may not. So, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you what it was for. My septic failed. So now I have no septic. So my office was built between, I don't know exactly, 42 and 47. The fire tower, I believe, was in 42. Good Lord. I've sold it once, but it reverts back to the state if they don't dismantle it. It sold for $70, $100, something like that.
And your office is like right here on 158.
Yeah, right across from the hospital.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, we,
Yes.
you'll have septic by there for too much longer, so we can hook you up and we can, a small nominal fee, we'll be able to do, sewers and stuff.
For real?
Yeah.
We have a, yeah, pretty big
It's
project
not
happening.
immediately, it's coming.
It's coming, but it won't be like this year.
Because I mean, I don't know, like, I know forestry, I don't know construction.
Yeah.
And so when the number was doled out to me, I was like, are you out of your mind? I mean, but I was also told that I may not have a septic tank. See, my bathroom, my building was actually built without facilities. There's a bathroom that's in there that was installed in the 70s, I believe. So somebody said it could be like a barrel, or I don't know what they, you know, so.
It might be a French drain or something like that.
Yeah, and because we don't see Edgar or building, we're state, so the state inspector has to do it and stuff like that, but I'm not familiar with it. But there is an increase in that one, so, you know, like I said, when I hand that into finance, usually I'm like, hey, can you just let them know? But again, feel free to call me and I will come and explain anything about this stuff to you that I can. So that's what the increase is in there, aside from the line increases by, like I said, it's usually like 3 or 7%. Some of the things that we do here, like I said, fire protection is our main thing, and I know it doesn't seem like it. The numbers are all over the place. We have had, on average, some years as many as 50 calls a year, and we've had as low as 7 in a year. Some of that has to do with how I capture that information now too, because that's changed a little bit. But what I like to explain to individuals, because we have had budget meetings in other counties and stuff comes up. I think, in all honesty, aside from so fire protection and fire control is our main job. Forest development and working with landowners to promote forest silviculture and ecology through reforestation practices and just general management of your timberlands. I&E, fire departments, schools, stuff like that. But one of the main things that sticks out in my brain when I think about this contract and the benefit that it goes toward the county. So every county in the state has a contract. The contracts run anywhere from 35% to 40%. It's based on taxes. So we're at 35%. No matter what happens after the budget is approved, that's what the county's obligated to. The reason that I say that is because it's not uncommon to bust a budget in a county with the Forest Service. Because we don't budget, my operational side of the budget does not allow me the ability to have things that I would like to have. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm talking about like niceties. Like up until a week ago, I used my personal mower, weed eater to take care of the yard because my yard's like 1/10 of an acre. Well, the district office they get mad at me because I'm technically pulling private property with state over. But in order for me to buy a lawnmower, because I'm a state agency, it's got to be a commercial mower. Okay, I'm not spending 10 grand on a lawnmower to make 2 strips in my yard. I'm just not doing it. So I don't, and I think for the most part, most of the counties, but I know here, I don't budget to have side-by-side mowers, stuff like that. I budget so that I can get through the year and meet the goals that I need to make. Now, some of the cost involved with our agency is through the roof. And the reason that I bring the fire control in, this is my point with that stuff, with the budget breaking. This county and the counties in Northeast North Carolina, actually through the code, has organic soil. This county has pure mineral on one side and pure organic on the other side of the spots. If you do not have a cooperators agreement with the Forest Service, it's fine. But in the event that you need fire control, fire suppression, that's delivered at what our rates are generated at. So I brought a rate sheet. I didn't bring it for every vehicle, but I brought it for our aircraft because we do have a fleet of aircraft. This, I couldn't find, I actually had a Hilo on Black Mesa a couple of years ago. And when I got the bill for it, it was right around 9 grand. Really, it kind of like caught me off guard a little bit. But on the left-hand side, you'll see the aircraft numbers, and then you'll see an hourly rate. And my thing is this about the insurance policy. We can sit in Gates County, and we can go just like everything else. A few years without a hurricane, we can go a couple of years, maybe a straight line with damage and tornadoes. I don't know how many people, and this has been a long time ago, how many people remember 2007? Okay. I had a very bad day. And if you aren't in the contractual agreement, all that suppression activity, you can blow $1 million in the blink of an eye. You can take the budget that we have right now, and within 2 months, that's right out the window. So what happens, it's a safety net, I think of it as, is if you have the contract, and I spend $500,000 in the Dismal Swamp, you're allocated for whatever this contract is, and the rest of the money comes out of the state. They're not gonna bill. It's one of those things when we go, like you dispatch to Helene, right? I go out and I make my hourly salary, but the actual rate that the state gets paid for me, I would like to have that salary because it's significantly different. So the rate sheet applies to everything we have. It applies to me personally. It applies, and then it depends on what qualifications I have because that's rated. My equipment, the truck, chainsaw, everything that I touch and use. And I know that may not be the best analogy to put it as a safety net, and some people may get upset and think that you're trying to hold somebody hostage over it, but it's just a reality that truthfully, you can have a very small 10, 15 acre fire, inorganic material that costs you $110,000 because we're sitting on it every day, you know, trying to figure out a way to flood it or get water on it or run sprinklers nonstop. The forest management stuff, you know, the way that I function in the county is like this. And I think I've done a fairly good job at it. Most of the landowners know that you can call me and you'll get a response within, it should be that day, but no later than 3 days. And we handle everything. I did away, and I probably shouldn't bring this up. I did away with burning permit agents in the county years ago. So the way we function now is everything's online, or you can come into the office or call me and I will drive to you and personally handwrite you a burner permit if you want one. And honestly, I've seen numbers go down on that as far as debris burn stuff because I was having problems, and this isn't a fault of theirs. When you have multiple people writing permits, they're writing permits for the wrong things, and it causes problems. It's not just this county, but all the counties have this problem, where the permit agent will write a burning permit for something that's illegal to begin with, and then it just starts a nightmare. The burn ban stuff, you know, like I said, that was, I ate crow so bad. I had just come to you and been like, I just heard it's going to go through June, and like the next day they were like, we're pulling it. And I was like, what are you doing? But it can last a long time, you know. And I will say this about the burn ban stuff too, so that everybody can kind of be on the same page with this. The North Carolina Forest Service. Okay, we have general statutes that dictate all of our actions. Okay. The Forest Service controls the burning permit general statute and the escape of fire. Air quality handles the material that's being burned. I had nothing to do with it. And that's been one of those things that has always been like a contentious part. So when we go into a burn ban, thankfully, Gates County followed suit with the state and said they're going to take that 100-foot out. Some of the surrounding counties kept it, so you could have your neighbor burning and you get a ticket. You know, it's very confusing to the public. So the fact that we can all be on the same page makes it so much easier for me. But at the same time, I expressed to Scott when I talked to him about it, like I said, everything's general statute dictated to me. But I drove 2,400 miles in a month because when we were in the burn ban, I was driving every day trying to get to people before my plane saw them and I was forced to write citations. Because the state needs to give me the ability to write an infraction or a citation, but they, in the burn ban, you can only do that. Anyhow, I know we're talking about this. Anything on the operating side of the cost, other than the fact that I added, like, I think it was 10, but it might have been as much as 12 grand into the operating fund. My biggest line item, I believe, is safety and security. I think it's 6 grand, and you might look at that and that's pretty broad. Here's why. These pants are, I bought, right before Aaron left, I bought him one pair and it cost me after taxes $700. These pants are anywhere between $350 and $700 a pair. It's Nomex Kevlar blend. The problem is Nomex, 100%. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
When you get to where I am, I have enough that I rarely ever buy new fire pants for me. They have to disintegrate. But Aaron actually, because of some other dispatches, he wore a pair out, so I had to replace a pair. Our fire line gear is the same way.
Yeah.
Pack is $500 minimum. The winter, it used to be called a brush coat, is now what our winter fleece coat is. That's Nomex. That's $500-600 right off the bat. And those aren't reoccurring items every year, but like I have a new employee with the potential. So that cost, because the minimum is 2 pair of fire pants, 2 fire shirts, pack. So to outfit a new employee, it's going to cost a little bit of money. And then, like I said, they turn around and leave, but I can't help that. So boots are another thing. Again, I can't control the cost of those things. I will say this, 2 years ago, so I'm a certified drone pilot. We had a drone program for a while, and I've been flying for several years, but we finally adopted it in the district. So in this county, you actually have 2 qualified pilots with infrared drones. It's only happened twice so far. Now, they've called more times than that, but our availability is a little bit. I flew for the Mill Pond Search and Rescue one night, and me and the other gentleman just flew Gates the other night.
Was that for the woman lost in the kayak overnight? Yeah. Talked to you a lot that night.
Yeah.
Talked to you a lot that night. It was fun.
So, that is a, that the purchase for us for the drone was right around 9, which that's really, thankfully, for a good IR drone, that's on the low side, but we need something that's mobile that can fit in the trucks. But it's available to the county. The only caveat to that is I have my regular duties and then I have call. I don't mind in those windows, but just like everybody else, like if Palins are outside of we have to be on call or something, we may be tied up, just like anybody, family or something like that. But
just a minute here, we open up for questions. I know we're.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Like I said, I can talk.
You're good. I just wanted to see if anybody had me.
How many currently are working in your office?
Me.
It's him.
So across the state.
What happened to, what's his name, Winslow? Winslow, boy, did he work in there 5 or 6 years ago? I guess not.
No, so I've had Chester Tinkham and then Aaron Prince. So Aaron's wife is I don't know.
It's okay, I just was curious.
She's over the game lines anyhow, but she handles all of the game line stuff. So it's kind of nice in this county, you got, locals that basically control.
Are there any plans for taking the tower down?
I wish. Like I said, I have tried since I took over to get rid of the fire tower.
Okay.
The bonding on the tower is the problem, but I will say this, as a state agency, there's no maintenance on that tower. I was told by the state fire marshal 2 years ago that I either had to encase it or pull the first set of stairs down. And my supervisor and the CO in Raleigh said, tear the stairs down because we don't want to pay to put something around it. Because, you know, we have random people that used to go over it all the time. The stairs are falling through, the decks are falling through, the cab is horrible. And that, you know, again, if the state forces that, that's gonna be a massive expense, but the bonding to get the tower down, that's why they sell for like $70, you know, I mean, but you gotta be bonded with the crane and everything else.
Well, thank you.
You guys don't have, like, you hit me with something, I mean, I don't know.
Well, actually, I like the budget I'll put out, the line item out, I appreciate it.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did.
Okay, well,
Because I think we're gonna be receiving it all via email following this. We had not seen it yet.
oh, yeah, you should have physical copies.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can.
Yeah,
We'll
okay.
have those then, okay.
Okay. Yeah, and, like I said, the line items, where they may be broad in wording, and I'm fairly sure, basically, the reimbursement is just every month the county gets a bill from the state, you know, that itemizes everything that has been spent to that point. And then it's a portion of that that goes back to that group. But for you guys, I'm not like, I don't mind talking, and I don't mind answering questions, and I don't mind any of that.
So, okay, we're trying to move on to the next item, no offense to push you out, but.
Oh, no, but I'm just saying, you guys need, like, don't hesitate to be like that.
I appreciate it, y'all guys.
Thank you,
Great
Scott.
work.
Scott, seriously, thank you.
Yeah, okay, yep.
Seriously.
Yeah, man. Y'all have a good afternoon, you too, y'all see. Matt, step out that way or?
Either way.
Either way, either way.
I appreciate it, thank
Thanks a
you.
lot.
Thank you very much.
Staying under the radar.
Yeah, that's why I kinda like.
Hey, appreciate it. I'm used to doing that. I didn't want to step through your toes.
No, you're fine. I know, you're fine.
Yeah, these are, I have one there, I can't see which ones are physical.
I was like, maybe toss it down there. I don't know.
It's about worthless, but yeah.
Right, so we do have an audio, video recorder in this part of the room here that is recording, to be posted online later, so I'll just preface with that, and then we can roll right into it, since we are running about 15 minutes behind there, we'll make up for it a little bit, but. To get us back on track, we are moving into Chamber of Commerce. We have two members of the chamber here with us, so do you have anything to preface or you want to lead it?
No, other than, I believe this is a new, would be a new line item in the budget, right? For the couple of years I've been here, I don't think we've had an appropriation for the chamber. It's not unusual from other towns and counties, but I don't know if y'all have ever been funded or maybe.
We have in the past, yeah. You know, we have, since our inception, tried really hard to develop a relationship with the board and just see how we could maximize our efforts.
Can I just introduce yourselves, it's on camera and recorded?
Sure. I'm Ed Morgan, current president of Gates County Chamber of Commerce.
I'm Cecil Bagley, I'm just a board member.
Thank you, sorry about that.
Hard working. So in the past, we have had some budgetary support from the county. I think the maximum that it was, and this was probably at least 5 or 6 years ago, I think, $1,500. So, you know, our chamber is all volunteer staff. We have really reasonable membership dues. We try to encourage every business in the county to participate. And we really feel like, even though we haven't had a whole lot to work with necessarily, we feel like we're really starting to get some traction on some of the projects that we initiated over the past couple of years. I don't know if you all are familiar with this. This is a resource directory basically for businesses in the county that we published back in 2023. We've been hoping to do something similar for a long time. COVID, like did with many people or many projects, sort of set us back a bit, but we were really pleased with the impact that this seemed to have. It's the first piece like this that we'd ever done. It was funded all by the chamber. We didn't sell ads. We looked at that potential model, and that didn't really seem to make the most sense for us. We felt like we had good participation from businesses in the county for the most part. So that's just one of the things that we've done. But anyway, in terms of our budget and budget request, and going back on a little bit of history with the Chamber of Commerce in relation to the Board of Commissioners, with prior boards and county managers, we worked really hard to try to get got a commitment for potential office space for the chamber in the courthouse before the renovations were completed. That's going back many years ago. We all know there's been a lot of changes since then. When it became evident that it wasn't going to work out for us to get space in the courthouse, we decided we just needed to go ahead and be proactive and push ahead on our own, which we did. And we began leasing space here in Gatesville and occupied office starting July 1st of last year. We only have, as I said, we're all volunteer. And at this point, we have a rotating calendar for board members to staff that office one afternoon a week. One of the big goals for us for this year is to be able to hire someone part-time to establish more regular office hours. You know, we feel like in many ways we were starting from scratch in terms of what we were able to do to try to promote Gates County as a potential good site for businesses to come to. Just to give you a little bit of insight as to what we do or our regular activities, some of the events that we held in 2024 was we did a business after hours event with Five when they were rolling out the fiber installation, the fiber service here in the county. It was really well attended. We hosted the candidates forum at the courthouse prior to the last election. And we also held a different membership event in October out at Jubilant Fields. And in terms of in addition to those things, we do ribbon cuttings for new businesses when they open in the county. One that we did comes to mind last year with Cloud9 Spa. We've got one coming up soon with Farmer Frank's. And we're certainly thinking we'll have at least a couple more this year. Coffee shop. Right, we have a new coffee shop going in Sunbury.
When is that open?
Supposedly the first of the month, but being that's the middle of the week, it could be the weekend before the weekend.
Gotcha, okay.
We got the parking lot finished earlier, Monday.
And in addition to those ribbon cuttings, we also feature one of our member businesses as the business of the month every month, and certainly try to publicize them through online media as well as print with the index. In terms of other things that we do to, I think, benefit businesses in the county, as well as having other benefits, we host job shadow days with business students at the high school. We've been doing that for several years, and I can say I think I have addressed the group of students that we basically, the way that works is the students sign up and they express what interest they might have in a particular business or a particular field. And so that's how they get matched up. The students typically go and spend all morning at the business, learning as much as they can. And then we come together here, usually here for lunch. And we feed them. Right, we feed them lunch and really try to engage them. It's not something where they just sit and listen. It's really, we don't let them just sort of think they're taking the morning off and they get a free lunch. But it's been really encouraging to see how engaged the students have been, especially this year. We had 12 students participate, and we just did the last event on April 7th. 12 students, and out of all of the businesses that participated, there were only 2 repeat businesses from prior years. So for us, we were really encouraged by that sort of development on this year's event. And in fact, we're already planning in our conversation discussions with the students that participated. Got a clear indication from them that they would like to see the program expanded. So when we do it in the future, it's going to be a full day. So they're not just getting, a cursory, just a little more in depth in terms of the actual job shadowing. And I know we're kind of short on time here, and I wanted to go ahead and talk about some of the other goals that we have for this year. And one of those things that came out of the job shadow program is we really would like to work with the faculty and administration at the high school to potentially develop and establish an internship program for business students at the high school to sort of take it one step further and really give them that sort of hands-on experience that they haven't been able to get thus far. And we certainly want to do everything that we can to work with the commissioners to have a collaborative effort to do everything that we can to attract new businesses to the county, as well as encouraging our existing businesses to do business here in the county. For all of us who live here, we know we got to travel for a lot of the goods and services that we're accessing on a regular basis, but there's an awful lot that we can do within Gates County. That's really we're most interested in trying to encourage our membership to keep them, spend that money here in the county and do what we can to help build each other up.
Thank you. I would say that there, that you had put out, what, 2 years ago, we said, is that right? 2 years ago, publication. That helped. I mean, I didn't realize that some of those things were here, so I thought it was very helpful. Definitely.
Well, we were really encouraged initially because, we have a limited budget, and as I said, we had looked at potentially trying to sell ads to finance the publication, and decided against it because it was a heck of a project just to get this completed, and published. And we felt like that sort of advertising piece of it was just going to be a whole different ball of wax that was going to gonna be make it harder for us to get it printed, get it out. And, we initially, I think, thought we were gonna do 1,000, and I think we ended up, through Cal, at the index and with the News Herald really worked with us, and we ended up printing, I think, around 3,000, and I noticed when I left to come for this meeting, we're down to 50 copies left.
That's great.
And, you know, really feel like, it was a successful effort. We're thinking about doing another one, but at the same time, knowing that the costs involved, it's a tough balance because, and I think Cecil can speak to this because he was approached, he's been manning the phone for us over the last few weeks and a couple of months, I should say. And initially we distributed these in any member businesses that wanted to distribute them, post offices and any other places that made sense. We have done some distribution to visitor centers on various interstates and see what was the
Kathy at the NC Welcome Center on I-95 contacted me on the 8th of this month and said she wants more. And you know, this is a 2023 publication. I would be almost embarrassed to send her a 2023.
So you know, we feel like it's really important at this point, and I don't know if you all have done any research or had a chance to look around at all as far as our presence online, but right now, the chamber site is hosted through the county site, and we're in the process of basically developing our own site, standalone, and we certainly are trying to do everything we can to focus more on the online environment because we know that's what people, especially the younger citizens are much more inclined to do that. But with that being said, we were really surprised about the interest in an actual hard copy item that.
How many members do you have? Gates County, I should say.
80-ish.
80, are they all Gates County members or is
Yes,
some
there's
out?
one lady that owns a business in Lucas City and Gates County.
That's what I was saying.
And we have some from outside the area.
That'd be in addition to the 80 or part of that 80?
We've got around 80 right now.
Total.
But a handful are from outside.
Okay.
So I have two questions too. You mentioned the office is currently staffed. Is there regular hours right now? And what would those-
Wednesday afternoon.
Wednesday afternoons, is there like set time in there or?
Yeah, I wanted to jump in somewhere along here. So when I came on the board about 4 years ago, we didn't even have a telephone. We were using, one of the board members would take calls and they would respond. And I was like, guys, we gotta get with it. So we now have our own cell phone. And it took us a month or two to get the wrinkles worked out. And then finally I said, you know what, I'm just gonna take the phone. I keep it plugged in, 2 or 3 times a day. I walk by and I'll tap it to see if there's something, you know, if I need to respond to something. We had a guy named Scott Mason from Tar Heel Travel. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with him or not. He contacted me and wanted to do a segment in Fort Big Country. So we coordinated everything and some of the members met there that night. And it's a good thing we did because all their orders were takeout. And he interviewed myself, my wife, and Miss Marie Allen. So they did have some people that they could actually interview in there. And we didn't have an office. And I was like, guys, we gotta have an office. We gotta have somewhere to hang our hat. We painted the pavement. We had a committee put together. We painted the pavement. And finally, the Willow offered to take us in is office. And they've been good to us. And they've given us a very reasonable fee that we can afford. But you know, it's $250 a month. Then the phone is what, 100 and whatever a month. I mean, these things add up. And then you start throwing this in, what was that? $3,500? You know, but we're also working hard to bring other people in. Right now, we met with, Miss Battle.
Angela Battle, who is currently working for,
Aria.
yeah.
So what we're gonna do is, being we're there on Wednesday afternoons, we're gonna have a seminar there for teaching people to be, computer safety and online, medical for the public. And there's some seminars that we're gonna start holding there during our Wednesday hours. So we're there from 12 to 3 on Wednesdays. And right now we have a calendar and everybody has to sign up for it. Well, basically we've got 8 board members that are the ones that are signing up for it. And yes, we could talk to other members about bringing them in, but there's a certain protocol that needs to be followed. And you would almost need to do a training session, where we do have a girl that is on the board that does all of our social media and does all of our digital things and she hadn't said that she would, but I'm certainly planning to see. I think it would be great if we could have her there a half a day a week and let her work on the things that she works on from home and for the business hours also. We also, we're working on a farm to table event, and that's going to be a huge event here in Gates County. That's going to be a limited amount of tickets. We've got a professional chef coming in, and they're going to be using products from this county. Spence Field, which is my daughter and son-in-law, the pork that comes from their pasture-raised pig right here in Gates County.
And really our main focus with that is to bring attention to the products that are produced right here in the county. And one thing that I think is important to point out too, and that's going to be, this should be a great event. It's going to be limited in terms of the number of tickets available, because this is a fundraiser for us, but with the chef who is coming in, who's worked with Vivian Farmer and is really well respected. She's local, he's not originally from the county. But one thing about that farm to fork event that we feel really good about is we've already gotten a commitment from the Oversea Foundation to be a big sponsor for us on that. And I think that, it's like the more we would spread our, the more we work and try to see what is available for us outside of the county as well as within the county. There are organizations like the Oversea Foundation who are very much interested in supporting our efforts. And so we're really excited about that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Sorry. So they'll also be using the beef from Lane Farms. They'll be using the honey from CNA, Carol Ward. I know most of you guys know him. And I should have a list, but I don't. But I knew we had a short amount of time. So going back to this phone, I had a guy contact me a couple of weeks ago, wanted to know about Flag Day. I didn't know anything about Flag Day, but I had a buddy, I knew that it existed, but I didn't know the hours. So I had a buddy of mine that was all into it. I would text him and get answers to this guy. We texted back and forth for several days, and he was really thrilled that someone had time to talk to him about this. Also, GPC is General Parts Corporation. They brought out all the Bean and Johnsons. So that's who now is leasing my building in Napa. And they had someone contact me about how do I get in touch, what I need to do to make sure I've got all the licenses and whatnot. So, even they reached out to us. We had a data business that sent in an email.
And Scott had followed up on
Right.
that.
But I'm saying the fact is that they did, contact us. But, then when we go to the expense side of things, we've got the office space, we've got liability insurance. So when we do an event or whatever, we're covered. We've got the chamber funding, we've got the job shadowing, we've got the wounded warriors, we've got the after hours, we've got the holiday gatherings. Hopefully we'll have a new publication. We've got the promotional giveaways. And, when we do have events, we'd like to give you something. If nothing else, an e-pen, it's got our number on it so you can respond to it. We've got office supplies. Everybody knows about expenses. but the salary is the thing that we really need. And, you know, our goals are to continue to promote the business and to have the paid employee. But I always feel like we're kind of even working as a tourism group, and fortunately, we have one of the girls that is on the tourism group that is on the board with us. So, I mean, we can all work hand in hand.
And one thing that I think, would be a great, joint effort, and I'm sure that the county has much of this already in place, but just a single, resource, anything that we can have in terms of an information packet when we are contacted by businesses outside the county. Something that provides all the demographic information, you know, all the various information that any potential business would be looking for when scouting sites. So, I think that, the good news is that we feel like we've been working really hard for many years now to get this going. And now we feel like we're starting to get traction, and we're really pleased about that. And we certainly appreciate the opportunity to come and meet with you all, because we've never had this opportunity before, and we appreciate it. And we know we're all pulling in the same direction, trying to do what's right for Gates County and the place that we live and love and want to see grow and prosper.
I know I've talked with both of you, like just in conversation about how the two can truly work together. The board of commissioners, the chamber of commerce, like I said, tourism, it all kind of goes in hand and get it, any kind of development, economic development in any way, or just, you know, supporting the ones that we have here currently.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you both.
Well, we appreciate you all having us.
And I know y'all got many more behind us.
Yeah. But please, don't hesitate to reach out to us if anybody has questions.
Thanks for your Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate
We holler next when we go out. We do, we're going to do that. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. I'll see y'all.
Yeah.
Anywhere, just find your seat.
Find your seat anywhere you want.
It over here.
I know Cecil for a long time. His son, yeah, my son started.
I have broken leg since January.
I'm gonna go ahead, this is being recorded, there's video, audio, video stuff in the middle.
Yeah, don't have a walker today.
Some handouts for you guys.
What handouts?
Yes. We're moving into Albemarle Regional Health Services. So I'll let you both introduce yourself, and we do have an audio video here, so you can introduce yourself before.
I'm Ralph Hallwell, the environmental health director for the Albemarle Regional Health Services. We are 8 counties, Pasquotank, Clemens, Shawn, Camden, Gates, Currituck, Hertford, and Canton. Well, Bert too. I'm gonna tell you what, got some many of them. And I oversee all your inspectors, whether it's your restaurant inspectors, on-site sewage, septics, trash. Next, I guess I might, the lowest man on the totem pole, I go trash and sewage.
But anyway,
That's where I live at.
And I'm Kim Outland, I'm the finance director at ARHS, I actually was the prior finance officer here for Gates County, so it's good seeing you. The ones that were here, and nice to meet the ones that are new. So did you want to start off, Angel's not
Yeah,
gonna be able to be here today?
we had a, Ashley who's the health director, she's in Raleigh, and I think Ms. Ramsey, you were with her yesterday. Yes. And, then Angel, who is the landfill director, she had a pretty extreme family emergency. She needed to be with someone. So she just asked me if I would try to help fill in for her. So that's kind of, so if you have any questions we can't answer, then, we'll feel free to take them down and get the answers for you. So what I was just gonna ask you all, I know we had said from 2 to 2:30 was gonna be the health department, and then, PCG was gonna be from 2:30 to 3, right?
Or,
2:30,
2:30 to 3, and then 3 to 3:30.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. So, do y'all mind if we just like incorporate all of it?
Sounds great.
Together? Okay, because we're, it's all kind of part of the same thing anyway, it's just that works.
And I will go ahead and preface and tell you, when I get up in about 20 minutes to walk out for a few, I gotta get my kids from school, so I'll be right back.
I'm gonna go up for
So
5.
we didn't make you bad in other words.
No, the school won't keep my kids for so many hours.
Well, and I'd like to share too, this is another one of those, relationships that I think actually has a contract with it. Because there was a commitment made when y'all took in the different counties, about the funding. I think we're on, was it a 10-year plan?
That was,
was that
it was
for-
indexed.
Yeah.
Look at, the health department kind of runs like the EMS here, where it's normally bigger places, part of the county department, but because we're so small, it is beneficial for the counties to come together with a regional, because the counties are required to have a health department with these services.
This is the best money you will spend in Gates County. I mean, there are small counties all across the state that are appropriating between $1 million and $1.5 million, even higher, to have a very small health department. And for the array of services that are offered through ARHS, it's phenomenal. And the fact that you're getting out for just about $0.015 or less on the tax rate, I just can't say enough. You're getting a great investment.
I believe, when Ashley did the math the other day, the county actually, it was like less than 1% of all of our entire budget that, for Gates County's portion, for their appropriation that they pay in to, their.
0.58%. Well, it's kind of good to get started. It's okay with you all. We're going to I think we just start off with PCG and then work in with and kind of work, because just so y'all understand, PCG, which is Paquins Charm Gates, is part of our regional health services. So the PCG has an advisory board, and but your budget and everything runs through the ARHS. Now, then PCG also is part of our regional solid waste and management authority, which consists of county manager and a commissioner from each county. And our regional solid waste management authority, and I'll just tell you real quick, the county, and y'all gonna have to help me, I get it. That's Paquins, Charm, Gates, which is PCG. Then we have Currituck. Then we have Washington, Terrell, Hyde, and Dare County as part of that organization. The reason why that was developed and PCG went in with that is because years ago, when they changed the laws in landfills, they developed in '93, I believe, the landfill over in Berkeley County, which now is owned by Republic Services. So we all went together and developed the authority, which gives us leverage on negotiating contracts with Republic Services. We have a 28-year contract with them.
That contract now is probably down to, I think 9 years that's left on that contract. But they assured us that if we need to renew the contract, that it would be, that they have plenty of airspace left to fill up, to take trash.
Permitted or just in the
It's
area?
it's permitted. Yes, sir. And it takes an average of 15 years now to get something permitted from the beginning to the end. So it's a long process. So, with the authority being in place, again, that gives us, some more negotiating power. And the authority contracts with ARHS to do all the billing. PCG, the authority does all the billings at PCG. Currituck's the same way, and, then Dare, Hyde, Terra, Washington, they have their own mechanism set up, because they do a lot of what we call direct hauling as well. But just giving y'all, what the authority, their budget every year is about a little over $12 million. Is what we have in the authority as far as what. But pretty much all that money is money that comes in and then it's flushed right back out. We just bring it in and spend
You're
it.
saying the authority, the 3 county authority, or
No,
the
sir, it's
bigger?
the whole authority.
Okay, all right.
So the solid waste authority is actually a separate entity from ARHS, we have to do a separate audit.
Yeah, I was just trying to say if you're talking about the bigger landfill authority or those
Right.
3 county, okay.
No, it's the big authority.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyway, so PCG falls in that as well. And we have, the landfill and transfer station budget, which is about $3,796,682. That's for the 3 counties. Now, just so make sure y'all understand about transfer stations and so forth, we have transfer stations in Clemens County, and all your convenient sites. We have Dixie that picks up the trash. They haul the trash from the sites to the transfer station, dump it, and then it's loaded up in trailers and transferred from there to Bertie County. Bertie County then has a tipping fee that we have to pay. And this coming year is $58 and something, but for PCG, it's gonna be $85.99, which includes hauling and the, in other words, we have to pay the hauling cost, and then we have to pay the tipping cost to dump. So we contract with Republic Services also to take care of the hauling side of it. And they have a company called Stella that hauls the trash from the transfer station over to the landfill in Bertie County. So we have the tipping fee, and then we have the hauling fee, and put it together this year. For this region, PCG, it's gonna be $85.99 per ton. And some of that fees in that $85, you have an engineering fee you have to pay, the state requires a $2 tax fee you have to incorporate, so you have to include all these state taxes as well. Now, PCG, the budget, also, we have our tire recycling, our electronics recycling, and we also have capital outlay. Now, the majority of the expenses is 67.54%, which is projected for 2026. And the tipping fees, with the authority, is going to be $2,564,152. So there's quite a bit of money that runs through this whole organization.
So can I ask you a question real quick, just before you move on tipping fees? As you were explaining that, I was missing it. Are you saying that the tipping fee, just the tipping fee was $58 and the hauling
Yes,
fee?
sir.
Is that the current rate or is that the proposed rate?
That's the proposed rate.
What was the previous rate before the 58?
Right now is, it went up, the CPI went up 3%. So it's 3%,
Few dollars, okay, I got it.
It's not,
Yeah, I got it.
it's not a big change.
Okay.
Now, the Gates County, the convenience sites, which you all know aware of all the convenience sites, we have the budget for that is $554,159 for Gates County. And this includes salary and benefits, capital outlay items at the sites, because we have our compactors at the sites, we have the containers, we have paving at sites, the fencing, repair, maintenance for sites and equipment, because there's always these compactors, we always got issues going on. And then, and the hauling of the containers from the sites to the transfer station, that's where Dixie comes in. And then in landfill. And, the trash hauling and the fuel surcharge is 40.6% of the entire convenience site budget. And the actual staff salary and benefits of 41.17 of the budget. Now, we do get some revenues, we get some tire tax money, and honestly, on some of these revenues, white good tax money, electronics tax grant money, sometimes the state is really good about feeding you this money, and then all of a sudden, it starts dwindling away. And that's where I see the white goods is gradually, they're gonna make it more, where you won't get it before it's over with. Then we get some glass recycling, we get, just recycling in general, which is like, we take all the recyclables up to a company called RDS up in Virginia. Yes, sir, yeah. And then we have our commercial operators, which people come in and, when they come across the scales, because we do have scales at the landfill, we'll charge the commercial guys. And the commercial operators, they will pay an estimated of $625,000 in landfill tip fees. Now, the only thing about that is, the one thing about the authority budget and the PCG budget is we give you a budget, but can we guarantee that's what the budget's gonna be? No, because it's all based on trash, and it's all based on if the economy goes busted and people quit building, people quit buying or whatever. And so there's a lot of things, or if we have a hurricane, we have a storm come through, then things can do a 360 real quick. It's all just everything. So nothing is actually carved in stone with these budgets. We try to do, 3-year historical thing. We try to figure out the budgets, look back, and if there's hurricanes involved, we try to take that out, try to, accommodate for that also.
And one point, to just to remember for some of this tax money that's coming in, if your audits aren't turned in on time, it won't, like, for the white goods tax, or just, I don't know if you guys are.
We hit the target, we made March 31st.
Okay. So the counties will pay an estimated $3,102,682 in landfill fees to cover our operations. And Gates County's landfill fees are estimated to be $867,267 for fiscal year 2026. But again, that's all influenced by the volume of trash, which is going to be influenced by what goes on in Gates County. You don't really never know, that's not an exact figure. These funds come from the solid waste fees paid by the community members and scrap tire costs over grants as well. Now, the convenience sites, they receive revenues from the sale of recyclables, like I said, and currently right now, we selling used motor oil, our scrap metal, we're selling it, glass, and other textiles. So it's just, there's some things we're selling, but we're definitely not getting rich off of it. That's for sure. And the counties pay a convenience site fee to cover the balance of the operation of the sites, and Gates County's cost is estimated to be about $524,159 for the fiscal year 26.
We thought about putting a separator in to separate the bulk trash from other recyclables that just don't get separated between the two.
Say that again now,
I put a separator in.
to separate the
Bulk, like waste trash that's truly, you know, biodegradable, here you go, versus like paper and plastic and metals and all that stuff. I know waste management has one that's pretty cool, because when we demo buildings down, we'll send them to them, and they'll separate everything.
right on site.
Well, not on site, it's that.
I mean, at back
Yeah,
there,
back there.
no, we have not, really. I mean, something we can always look into.
Yeah.
There's several things, like right now, we've been working on scrap tires, because tires is a big issue. Can't just throw them in the landfill, so we have to come up with alternatives, and we looked at a tire shredder. Now, we won't actually, that's one thing about the authority, we're actually looking at the authority working together and maybe contracting and doing something with us to get a shredder, to put it in little pieces so we can dispose of it in the landfill, and really, at this time, some of the board members, with the cost, they're not that hip on it, but, Pasquotank County, they're looking at what we get going. Colony Tire wants to get one.
Yeah.
Because it's saving them millions of dollars. I mean, literally. So they were trying to see if we would have any interest in maybe working with them in doing that. We were actually gonna have a meeting on the 9th of April. Yeah. And last week, I believe, but anyway, they canceled it because the shredder guy was gonna bring the shredder from Raleigh, and he neglected to tell anybody he was gonna charge $6,000 to set it up until the day he got ready. The day before he got ready to bring it, he said, by the way, it's gonna be a cost of $6,000 to set it up. We're like,
Because you don't want to sell that shredder,
we need to renegotiate this so we cancel that real quick.
So y'all, talking about separation, you're having all the various materials recycled, could you get something back for? Do all the counties in the PCG and I guess the bigger authority, do they all separate out yard waste? Because I know at our PCG landfill, we have that.
We have yard waste.
Mulching, free mulching, you get everything, that's gotta offset a lot of tipping fees.
Yes, sir. All the counties have that.
All the counties.
All, Dare County, Currituck County, all have yard
And
waste.
every convenience site has a separate container for yard waste?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No.
And, then we contract a guy to come in and grind it.
Yeah.
Yes, that
Some of it's better than others, I've used it last time, yeah.
And you wouldn't believe how much more it costs. And you'll see in reports you get soon of separated waste versus, well, everybody throwing it in one spot. It's almost double.
Bigger problem there, just, the Department of Defense explored doing the separation stuff like you talk about waste management does. The problem is once that stuff gets mixed together, garbage, the cardboard value goes down to nothing, and a lot of the glass is worth nothing. It's got, it's like an old mayonnaise jar.
Yeah.
The guys that recycle, they're gonna pay you like a tenth of what they would for clean glass that's been separated out manually versus what's already been pre-mixed.
Yeah.
And in fact, the DoD built a great big $10 million facility over in Norfolk. And they shut down after 2 years because it turns out healthcare insurance for the workers working in there became so extravagant, it was cost prohibitive to run the place. So paying the tipping fee is actually going to be cheaper for the stuff that wasn't sorted. So it's big to motivate the public to sort.
But we, I know, did you want me to, we have to go to the health department, you want me to wait?
No, you go ahead. One thing, is this a good time to kind of bring up that? What we talked about this morning?
Yes.
Sure. In our case, what do you all show for what our costs were last year combined for tipping fee and convenience centers?
I'd have
Oh, okay.
You want to know what now, the cost of?
Yeah, because ours is, I know we break it out in the budget, but the audit, it's aggregated.
Yes.
And we're showing an aggregated expenditure of $1,055,000.
So that's probably where it's.
Which is considerably less than the 867 and the 554. And
I know if on those reports that Bonnie sends to Marie or whomever now to pay for PCG, it's like a running total, so if she has one of those, if you wanna look at it today, that would.
I was curious if you had.
Yeah, I don't have that with me right now. And then, did you need to talk about anything else with the salaries budget?
I don't think so, unless y'all have any questions on that.
We just have, a couple of things, and we've been out doing our agriculture tours this morning, and predominantly through our community, we have several, poultry producers. And, years ago it was decided that, they won't want to be allowed to use the local convenience centers and those type of things. I think we, as the county commissioners now, are having a conversation about allowing them to do that, to deal with those type of things like that, sitting up against the wall, is some of the things that
It's
they
a
were
paper
looking at.
filter.
Yeah, so basically it's just a cardboard filter.
And a cooling cell.
Yeah, so water literally runs down through this. And so at the most, it's cardboard with that might be damp that they would bring into the community center. And you put them in the bottom of a trash container, they would compact down and all that kind of stuff. As well as plastic trays that you put feet on for the first 6 days of a chick being born and everything. And so they would like to take these things, every 6 weeks or so, one house would produce 2 5-gallon trash bags of these. And they would like to have that ability to do that.
Now, they need to take it to the convenience site, not the landfill.
Correct.
Right.
And that ordinance is a little vague, it's got, of course, it says for household only.
Yes,
It's the household fees that are paying for the operation. But there's a clause in there about exemption, or that they would take certain agricultural waste, but that's not defined anywhere.
Right, like, you know,
And I
of
think
course,
it's the opportunity for the board to talk about this.
I won't say waste, but like the, pesticide containers, you know, that's.
Yeah, you can't take
But
that.
we have big, but now this here, you know, I think the way the counties looked at it prior, before, is the reason why they're not doing it, they look at the farming, that part of it as a commercial type thing, which then we don't accept commercial at the site, you know, they have to go to the landfill. But, I mean, personally, if you all have a ordinance or put something in there that we take it, then we take it.
So as far as,
And we discussed with one fellow today that we'd have that limit of one pickup truck load
Right.
per customer.
I mean, you said in the meetings, y'all said in the meetings, too, Mr. Brady, you know how that it's always about commercial hauls coming in and it always, it always comes to chickens and you know,
And I agree, commercial and in the farmers where is majority of our tax base.
Right.
And with them being the majority of our tax base, then we feel like not they should be able to do what they want to do, but if the farmer needs to take a pickup truck load of that, a half mile to the dump versus driving
Right,
to Clemens,
right.
then we feel like that's one of our
I think
obligations.
we want to arrange to have an extra container, an extra 30-yard.
I think you just have to look at how you want that cost to run through the county, because that's gonna add some extra weight, which then affects the ability to do.
Yeah, and this stuff is extremely lightweight.
Right.
Where I think it affects us is the volume,
Correct.
because that'll fill up a 30-yard container. And I don't think you want to compact that necessarily, because then you take up room in a
Yeah, you want-
compactor.
yeah.
It really ought to be putting household waste in there that really needs to be.
But then you would have to start reviewing what the fees have been set up that go on the tax, if that's still
Well,
happening.
that's what I'm curious, is
No.
this $240 per household?
Right,
Was that by statute or by?
that was here, that was what it was set out when I started.
Yeah, because I think for the commissioners, the question is gonna be, if there is additional cost,
Yeah,
is that cost gonna be borne by all the taxpayers? It would be an infusion of extra money from the general fund, or would we go up on the household fee, and then arguably somebody could say, well, we're requiring the household folks to subsidize the agricultural waste. It's a balancing act.
The only other thing I would say too, that I just want y'all to keep in mind, like I said, whatever, if we, this would probably be something that we need to bring before the advisory board, because if Gates County decides to do it, then Clemens has chicken houses and Shawan has chicken houses, and they may all say, people in Gates County from chicken farmers are gonna be talking to us. Wait a minute. So, you know what I'm saying on that? I don't know how,
Yeah.
and if that, he may not, I mean.
Even if all for all the counties was to do it, at the end of the day, it's all going to the same place anyway. So it's not like it's taking up less or more landfill space.
Just how it's getting.
It's just how it's getting there.
And by weight.
Yeah. It's
It's minuscule by weight overall.
I mean, look, we'll do whatever y'all want us to do, because, you pay our salary.
So I think your point about, we're talking with our regional colleagues that are in the PCG, because if we were to have an extra box set up at the convenience center sites, which might make it the simplest for the farmers.
We got to look at the cost of that too.
I just don't see us needing to do it.
Yeah, I don't think we need to say
That thing, those things are so compressible. I mean, you can put 100 of those things in and squish them down like half of one of those.
My father-in-law is a poultry producer. There's no hardly anything for them to take it out there and put it in there. It's not an issue whatsoever as far as any additional costs really would be borne from them physically taking out there. It would just be at the end of the day. A little bit of weight it would add for the whole entire county. So it's not that huge of an issue.
You picked one of those up. How much would you guess it weighed? 5 pounds?
Not even that.
Oh, less than that.
So he said that 100 of them every 3 years for 12 chicken houses, was it? Yeah. I mean, 100 of them, 5 pound each, 500 pounds.
It's more of an inconvenient for the trays. The plastic trays. And the plastic trays is 2 5-gallon. Literally, they're having to drive all the way to the trash dump over and trash dump for two trash dumps.
Better than I would roll in that wood, stick in the trash can.
You're a commissioner, hey, you're a commissioner, that's supposed to say that.
I've seen folks do that on television.
Yeah, that would be really the only thing that you have to look at is eventually, like, are your fees covering your costs?
Yeah.
It's not.
And it's something that you all probably want to mention at the board. I mean, just to.
Well, we've had questions come up over the years.
Oh, I did. Chicken houses have been brought up more than once, more than.
But because we have that clause for certain agricultural.
I think they were done.
Commissioners just need to come and.
Chicken, we were there one time.
Yeah, you can't do that.
No.
We talked to them, but they understand that's.
Yeah.
They throw chicken manure away, they throw money.
That's right, that's your money away to put another there.
So are solid waste handling regulations then, are they uniform across all 3 counties?
We pretty much is the same. The only thing I think different is just the days you're open. But everything else, the board tries to keep, the advisory board tries to keep everything on the same levels, so it won't be jumping county lines. Because that's something you have a lot of people.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other?
When's the next board meeting?
I don't think we didn't officially
She had some.
date one though, because we were trying to, I had to just let y'all, glad you said that, we were doing the transfer station. So, I met with the engineers last week, and we did a walkthrough and did a punch list. And, they're gonna bring that back on some things that were missed or some things that need to be done that we need to incur the cost on. So that's just gonna be
So I guess you're waiting on that report.
I'm waiting on
to
the
see
punch
that-
list from, shoot, what's his
That
name?
TB,
Leo, no, what's that?
well, green engineering
The
is
green
the
guy.
pass-through, but the structural engineer is a
TB.
group out of Wilmington.
But we did, we.
So you wait on a board meeting for that to happen or something?
Well, no, what we were doing is we were waiting for them to punch list and present us with all the information, then we were looking at having a board meeting, so we kind of let the board members know what's gonna be covered, what won't be covered.
Anticipate a change order.
So,
Yeah.
you know, we had, there were just a few things.
Well, then I guess you gotta schedule the floor and the.
And I got
You're on the
the
big
floor,
board, is that right? Are you on the larger, the bigger?
You're on the,
Yeah.
PCG. board.
So I thought I was on one of mine.
Yeah,
Well,
together.
okay, all right, I thought, because I remember.
One of you is on the Amarillo Solid Waste Management Authority, and both of you on the PCG.
Yeah, I'm on the bigger.
Yeah, you're on the bigger.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
You know when that next meeting?
Yeah, I
is?
was getting ready to ask. what
The
was that?
authority meeting, we not, I just sent the budget, so did you get a copy of the authority budget? No, we sent it out last week.
I don't know.
Okay.
So y'all,
It's a whole thing.
y'all contact us when,
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm really worried about missing that.
It's like, say, her in a room full of
Oh,
cats.
I bet, I bet.
Trying to get all 8 counties with all the, everybody, so I'm trying to, we're gonna be submitting that here shortly. Put together an invite.
I gotta do my 2-second advertisement on the shelves that somebody's got, because there's a first report that was done for the Albemarle Regional Authority, the first one I've done. Look on the bottom, it's my name, back in 1998.
Okay.
Yeah, I did that one as a grad student,
Okay, that's neat.
when we first established it.
I was we was just gonna run over the, just the health department in general, involved. And I do have one dating thing I was gonna ask you this, that they told me to ask. I'm the messenger. But I was just gonna, basically, ARHS there, and you have this sheet in front of you, the ARHS proposed budget is $23,696,682, and Gates County is $138,289.
We have that? Oh.
Yeah, it's the first page. Front flip over. No, flip the whole package over.
Yeah. Here.
Oh. Thank you. Thank
You have,
Keep straight, buddy. Thank you, man. All right.
you have a 2.5% index each year, and then, of course, the Gates County appropriations is 0.58% of the total of the entire health department's operating budget. The county, you all provide the building maintenance, the cleaning, which needs 3 times per week, but right now it's just 1 time a week. And then utilities. ARHS, we provide all the legally required staffing positions, the health director, nursing director, the environmental health director, financial services, human resources, IT department, all internet services, cleaning supplies, staff covering physically located gates, the nursing supervisor, the clerk, licensed practical nurse, the medical office assistant, nurse practitioner, 3 environmental health specialists is covered, which is me, environmental health director, 1 food and lodging, and another on-site septic and wells. And then new additional services that we're offering in Gates County beyond the normal public health services is primary care, 2 days per week, and then the behavioral health services, which is a really good thing that started. Now, and here, just so you know, we have attached all the multiple services, because a lot of people have the mentality that the health department, you just go get a shot. But we offer all kinds of services. I mean, from diabetes right on to, like I say, the behavioral, it's all kinds of things.
And that's what the 138,000 covers.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
But the one thing I was just gonna mention to you all, put it on your radar, is ARGS had a grant, and we had to purchase some generators. And we just purchased one for the health department over here. For Gates County, I think $16,000, okay? So then we found out yesterday, I think that Gates County is looking to purchase a generator for that.
Well, it's for the other side,
Okay,
what we call the county annex, where, and the grant has come through Department of Transportation, because our plan is to move the GITS into that area.
okay.
But we could certainly coordinate with y'all and have both of them installed at the same time.
Well, what we were wondering, because we just thought you had some, that, we didn't know some of that funding was gonna go to us for a generator. So what we were just wondering is if you all would have any interest in helping to update some of the medical rooms in there, patient rooms, because they're so underdated.
Well, let me ask you this, I think it'd be another good walkthrough, a tour for the board, because
I think it would be, that would
they
be
have
awesome.
carpet in the exam rooms, nobody does that, it's the 1960s, yeah. And you can't keep it sanitary.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about
Yes, carpet,
sanitary
all
for
I'm
the
saying,
animals,
yeah,
and
it's not sanitary, but that's why
I'm surprised the state even lets you keep that in there.
we are too. So that's kind of.
well, if you've got a list of those types of things, I think we ought to look at it together with you, because that is our responsibility as the host.
And I think Ashley has mentioned maybe in some of the executive meetings that, there might be some grant funding that can come through the county that's for capital improvement, those kind of things that's still floating out there that could potentially go to.
Yeah, that's, like I say, when they brought up like the generator, we were like, oh, man, we're gonna be buying a generator for over there. They can just use that money to help do the rooms and all.
Does the generator have to be 2 generators, or can it just be one bigger one?
Well, the one that the state's paying for transportation is gonna be gifting coverage for the Board of Elections and the Veteran Service and the EIC. So we're basically leveraging the state's money to do that side. So I don't know that we'd be able to cost out one large enough to do that.
So there,
So that's a grant funded generator,
through
right?
the
Not tax.
transportation though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so they're gonna focus on it being focused
Yeah.
on, yeah. Y'all just gonna ride the other stuff off of.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
they're
but
really
if-
funny about that.
16,000 will do that building, maybe that's something we ought to look at. I don't know
Well, I
what
was gonna
that costs
say,
to
the other
do.
thing too is when you talk about emergency generator, you don't usually size an emergency generator for peak usage of the building. You size it for emergency uses, which is like, critical functions like refrigerators and things like that. So, I mean, if the building uses 3 megawatts or something, you'd size it for 1 or 1.5 or something, so.
And I'm not familiar enough with the building to know how the wiring is set up in that building, whether it's got 2 separate sets of,
2 sets of, incoming.
yeah, I
Meters.
just don't, but clearly,
Yeah.
but it'd be really, I think, good information for the board to have a walkthrough.
That would be
Maybe
awesome.
one evening when there's no patients, so they can go into all the exam rooms and everything, because carpet on the floors in the exam room is just,
I don't know,
it's 1960s, we might as well have shag rug.
Yeah, Ashley mentioned that she could come, or did she say Sandy, who's the director?
We,
of
we'll make it work, whatever. I'll just, say something to them, say, okay, you line up something, you all, if that's okay.
If we can find a date that'd be workable for everybody, yeah, maybe early evening one night, when everybody gets off work over there.
Or could you go before one of your commissioners meetings, or is that?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about before that, and early evening or something.
Okay.
The past commissioners have done that, I don't know if it's before you or not, but they've done meetings at like 4:30 and have the commissioners meetings. Y'all do that?
Well, here we did it starting at 9.
No, but I'm saying in the past they've done afternoon, we've done that,
Yeah,
Well, we can sure do that maybe the next.
yeah, we used to have closed session.
Yeah.
Beginning meetings and stuff. That'd be okay.
I think that was one of the biggest points that Ashley wanted us to.
But if she wants to redo the exam, maybe with cabinetry and stuff like that, it'd be helpful to have sort of a scope of work, things that they've identified.
Again, for me, I'm I want to think fiscally restrained person. I mean, I'd expect that y'all guys would say, here's what we've looked into as far as other ways to finance it before it comes to the county, just say, cut a check for this amount.
Right.
If you say, here's the things we've looked at, here's requests we've made, or whatever else, and in good faith, if you've done that, then for sure it becomes something we should critically consider.
I think Ashley had looked into, there were still some grants out there for capital improvements, but it would run through the county. We couldn't get the money, but that
And even
was,
still, you have to put
Yeah.
that out to us.
yeah.
That's something in a budget submission. I mean, I don't know what you asked for, I don't know what the standard is for what you submit, but I would ask for that to be documented. Here's what we've requested, here's those
Gotcha.
locations.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, ARHS is about 3,800 square miles, our district, so and tonight, I mean, yes, it has its pros and cons like anything, but the one pro is it does give us leverage when negotiating with like government agencies and all. That's nice.
For us, regional works, the health department, the library, the PCG, and then it's all animal shelter, all works really well.
Yeah, I remember when Gates County originally joined, they were kind of like, man, y'all doing stuff over there, and we can't do it over here, so then it kind of kept inching towards, wow, we just stay and join y'all. That was why I guess Hereford and Gates, everything with Hereford was going on, and now Hereford is part of us as well, so. Any questions? Or?
I always get questions I'd ask, but don't need to do it now.
Yeah, like I say that for that list, we just.
So you've got 5 more minutes to ask the question, other than.
All right, hold on.
And I'll look into the generator thing and see if there's potentially to serve both sides of the building, I just don't know.
If they got one power feed coming in, it won't make sense to do one generator.
Right.
I don't know what else.
They still apply.
Because it used to be a dental office too.
Installations.
You can.
Oh, yeah, that's
You
right.
talking about to get a septic permit?
Yeah.
You can
But I'm not
apply
sure.
online, or you can do it locally.
Okay.
You can do it right.
Next question is, I had somebody complain about their neighbor's septic tank leaking out all over the place and throwing a fit. And not knowing the difference, I said, you need to call the health office.
You call, if you call the health department, then they put it in the system and it comes up as it can go to Ed Evans and then he would investigate it.
Where's he at?
He's out of Hertford County, but me and him actually, I come over here too.
Okay.
So I mean, I may very well get it, but I come.
That's, that is an appropriate thing to refer them to.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Any, and you know, sometimes the complaints, it can be neighbors upset with neighbors. Or
Oh, yeah.
If there's a legit complaint, then, I had one over here the other day, they were in a lawsuit and in court and everything else over here. But,
We're in that lawsuit.
It's funny how neighbors can't get along.
yeah, I know, I tell you, I told the neighbor, I said, I just assume live in an RV park in a single room trailer and I had to live beside you. And I tell you what, let me tell you something, he cussed me, and when a word come out of his mouth that was nice, and I mean, and I wasn't doing that, I was just standing there, and he just cussed and said what low down people we were, and we should be doing this, and then I was like, I'm over you. Had no trespassing signs, every 10 foot on the front.
Right, so last thing, I think I know this from years ago. Neighbors burning garbage, big piles of garbage. There was a guy down here, apparently, I don't know if somebody knows who they are. They said they're down off of Merchants Mill Pond, the Mill Pond Road. So the guy was burning an enormous pile of garbage in his yard because he was too being lazy to carry it somewhere. So he said, who should I call? I said, you know what? I think that's an air pollution violation. I said, but I doubt you'll get anybody to respond to that.
They can call us, but to be honest, we don't have a whole lot of control on that. We can, and honestly, the county, do y'all have an ordinance or anything on it, like
I don't know, my guess is the regional office in Little Washington would cover that.
yeah, they would be the one to get involved, but I think still that, do y'all have any type of ordinance on, like trash in the yard and cleaning
I'm
up?
pretty sure it's in.
Oh, we do?
I'm pretty sure it's in the ordinance about trash.
I didn't know that.
We have a small, it's
That's-
very, very gray, very, very gray.
30 years ago you did when I was in the garbage.
Because y'all can make, I mean, you can actually send out a code enforcement officer, do y'all have a code enforcement? And have them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're mainly in the sewage side of it, it's hard, I mean, we get into it, of course, I get into the mold and that's nature. I mean, several things we can buy, we can.
Well, I figured as much. That's kind of what I thought. That's what I said. I think we gotta talk to someone about air pollution. I didn't know anything. So, okay, sorry to bug you about that.
Yeah.
All right, your time's up there.
Well, I tried to get watching the clock, so.
That's all right.
Sure, can you do one more?
I just recorded my back and watched it.
Budget for the solid waste authority. Is that listed at, did Tracy send it out?
I think I did get that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just got that the other day.
Yeah, did you get the budget? You should have got.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think I just got that.
You should have got.
Except for 40 emails.
You should have, like, it should be several different.
Several different documents.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I
The
think it was.
budget message.
The overview.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where did it came from,
Tracy.
yep, budget order.
Yeah, okay.
That's mainly for you all to review, and then, when we have the meeting, and go from there.
Yeah, it shows the breakdown based on counties, yeah, I got that.
Normally, an extra meeting with that meeting.
Well, thank you for your time.
Hey, thank you so much.
Don't did bore y'all too much.
Oh, garbage is fine.
Well,
I'm a former garbage man, that's just great.
Sewage and trash. You can't do
Yeah.
Big money in trash.
It is.
Yeah, she keeps
We're
me
gonna
straight.
take a brief, like, 5-minute little stand up and do a break here.
So I thought the board of education. I thought the board of-
Alright, thank you. Okay, so we would have the Board of Education portion of Board of Education cancel, stating that they do not have a proposed budget ready to present to us. So this time can be used for open discussion amongst ourselves with Board of Education as the topic, but we just need to stay on that topic. So if anybody has anything that they would like to discuss regarding Board of Education.
So my understanding is that their initials, if they just have mostly completed their study, and the study's coming back like they don't want to change anything, is what I'm hearing rumor of. And I think that's totally unacceptable. I don't think, to be honest with you, they need to cut budget, not just hold the line on budget, in my opinion. And further, that with their numbers so far down, they're down to 1,348 students now from 5 years ago being 1,648. They can take the steps in this next year to start reducing the number of students going to pick an elementary school. They could say next year we're not going to have kindergarten, first and second grade, and they wouldn't have to lay off a soul over the end of the school year. They'll end up being a natural attrition of teachers moving, retiring, etc. And they could save 6 positions just that way. That's an easy solution. It's probably simplistic, but they should be coming forward with something on that order, in my opinion. And I would state that I am stating that publicly.
Well, and I will say too, with that, just conversation out there, given the number of uncertified teachers that are up there, those that are retiring out, attrition, that kind of thing, I agree. Also had brought to my attention the other day about different contracts, based on, I believe the daycare, that were just brought up on the Monday night meeting. And meeting to maybe wonder if there's more funding being put into daycare for someone to come in because certifications were not achieved. Is it contractually required that it be? And if so, is that contract that ended? Are we asking for more money to supplement this and keeping on this original person because the contract was not fulfilled? If you.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah. You understand, we understand that?
So.
What you're talking about,
Well, for
Brian?
clarification, is there a preliminary draft of a study or preliminary?
No, just people are aware of it within the school system that it's virtually complete. And they haven't come out publicly and said that.
Okay.
So, we haven't had anything, but I
hope I'm wrong.
I think even
I hope
without
I'm
the
wrong.
study, I mean, the study, we want hopefully to support it, but there are measures that can be taken now.
I would think that, especially with our last meeting that we had, and Mr. Sauer, you were saying that they were asking for $250,000 additional this year?
Well, in round numbers, it's an extra $500,000, and there was the discussion that it could be split over 2 fiscal years, 250 for 25-26, and another 250 for 26-27.
And I think it's almost like unacceptable that they're coming to us asking for that type of money, because why is it that they're asking for the citizens of Gates County to table the bill for something the state's not willing to pay for? And so if the state is reducing money to the school board, then why is it that the county has to turn around and foot that bill that the state's not willing to pay? And I understand they do it based off of the amount of kids in the school, but obviously the state feels like the amount of kids in the school has been reduced. So therefore, they need to take measures to reduce their cost.
Well, because you've got too many physical plans.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you've got a cafeteria, a principal, at each of those 3.
Yeah. Well, additionally, and y'all know, I'm the guy that loves to crunch numbers. You look at I've quoted this several times, National Center on Educational Statistics, NECES.gov, and look at the numbers. Unequivocally, Gates County has disproportionately more overhead staff compared to teachers than any of those other sweet 5 counties I refer to all the time. The 2 counties slightly bigger than us, slightly smaller than us. We have way more support staff in the school system than the other guys, to the tune of a couple of the 3 other 4 counties have just over 100. We have over 150 on the books.
Right.
And it was also my understanding that way back when they had their issue, and I get it, they had issues, unforeseen stuff, had to be dealt with. But the county asked them to meet with the county of Bradford to talk about their finances and all that. I don't think that at this point in time that we can continue to go forward to bail them out of their money issues that they have. And their financial director flat out said in one of the meetings that I attended that this is the tightest fiscal year he's ever seen. So what are they doing to manage their pocketbook?
And I agree, and while I get that we do not have any oversight over the Board of Education, I think that needs to be acknowledged.
Yeah,
We do have responsibility to the county's funds and how they're spent. And as and I wrote down earlier when we had 2 other people, Ms. Comer from the animal shelter stated about she doesn't need to shine a new building, it's what happens inside those 4 walls, and it's how you manage things, how you move things around. Scott Sheets talked about budgeting for needs, not the luxury items, and I think 3 schools is a luxury item for a county this size.
Yeah, when you got
3 elementary schools, I'll say.
When you got 10 or so kids in the classroom, that's, when I went to school, there was 30.
There should, with the amount of kids that we have in the classrooms, our schools should be going up.
Yes.
Not down, because, you have a better ratio of student teacher,
You have more one-on-one time with the teacher. So this is my opinion on it. The state tells us what to provide per pupil. That's what we provide.
I agree.
Yeah. And, I mean, to me, the big cost issue, feeding the kids is important. I think that is something that is worth taking into going into the next budget, to making sure that the breakfast and lunch for the kids is covered, because there are, hearing from SRO Lasker that day talking about kids, that he was having to be, like, their parents just don't give them money for food, like, that's not okay.
It's horrible.
That's not okay, but as far as the 3 schools, 3 cafeterias, the overhead and supporting staff, the general maintenance, like everything that kind of goes into having the 3 schools open, I agree.
I know I come across very poor folks, and that's the way my career has been built, is to make hard decisions, whether people like it or not. And I perceive this as an organization that has no ability to regulate itself or make hard decisions. And because of that, I don't think it's incumbent upon the citizens to pay an extraordinary amount of extra funds than they should because of their unwillingness to make hard decisions.
I agree. And like, I mean, I said before, I feel like public safety and kids are the one area where I can justify, tax revenue. However, it needs to be well spent and well managed, and it's not it's not fiscally responsible to continue as it has been.
Yep, so.
I think we're all.
Beat this horse to death.
And I'll go this way, Commissioner Roundtree, and try to, y'all have anything on that?
I agree with everything I said. One thing that's in the back of my mind is, I know that economically from the north, I know right now our numbers are doing, population is doing. I guess in the back of my mind, what was said just then, I agree totally. You gotta be a steward of what you have, you gotta manage what you have. I'm thinking in the back of my mind, expansions will be necessary if economic growth is gonna happen to this area and the effort is gonna happen. So what's gonna happen as far as facilities school-wise, I agree, 3 schools should be open, should be 2. And like looking at either 2 of the original or 1 new. But I believe in some capacity, we need to be thinking about the future, forward thinking, when that time comes, because that time is coming.
Yeah.
And I agree, and looking at that too, if we did this now and it say that we didn't build a new school, say that it was going to 2 schools. We have the opportunity as things would start to grow to look at other options then, but at this current time, it's costing us, we're bleeding out money to operate.
Right.
So there's a looking forward and a plan ahead situation, but there's also a what are we gonna do today situation, and that's where we're at with the budget, is the today.
Yes.
So today, we're bleeding out funds and we don't have the money to have the luxury 3rd school, whichever school that might be.
Okay, I'm gonna go one step further even, y'all.
Go ahead.
Okay. I know, I'm the guy pushing the envelope, but reasonably, should we be making extensive repairs to 1 or 2 schools that potentially we need and know we're gonna wanna close, should close, can't afford to run? So if we don't have the authority to stop the construction, I think we ought to seriously consider asking the school board whether or not they are considering halting construction projects that might be on the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars or more on 1 or 2 schools that may not be needed. And I think that might be incumbent upon us to ask them to consider that, especially if we've asked them to consider whether or not the downsize our schools because it's not needed. But we ought to consider, hey, be responsible and pause on doing the construction work that you're potentially heading towards. So, not asking for a vote, that's obviously not a voting thing, but I'm just saying, I realize I'm pushing envelope, but if I'm thinking about it, and I really think about the best interests of the public and spending money wisely, that's something that really ought to be thought about. Because we just talked to COA, and then Dr. Bagnall, is that right?
Bagwell.
Thank you. Dr. Bagwell said, is that talking about the cost of us operating the buildings, it'd be nice to be able to, great thought to it, that maybe we could convert one of those schools into early college. But if that's going to be a $450,000 bill, maybe that's not so viable. So that makes it all more likely that those buildings, 1 or both, may not be used at all.
I did appreciate that he had that number available, because that was helpful and.
Right. I think we need that post-high school educational incentive. No doubt about it, we should be doing that. But like he talked about, he was willing to accept, using the high school at night for classes, doing a transportation option where we take our students and make it easier for them to go if they can't afford transportation. That was tough when I was going to college. I rode a motorcycle in the winter because I couldn't afford to drive a car. So I know that, I agree with that. But man, if we're really going to consider those options.
I mean, yeah, because he said we're putting 7,000 in now, it would be for the East Central One campus, 437,000. That's 430 above what we're currently
Well, you know what, if we went out to the county and says, hey, would you like to have this, early college opportunity
Yeah.
for your child? And you would be willing to spend an extra 2 cents per 100 to get there?
Which, I mean, to
That's
be
a
honest,
viable question. That's
like,
what
my
the politics is.
plan with school was to put my kids in so they can graduate with an associate, because, I mean, it's an opportunity, it's a pretty big opportunity.
Well, even if they don't get associates, my kid who's at UNC Charlotte right now,
Yeah.
I think she was 2 or 3 classes short of doing
Yeah.
associates. But it still helped her
It helps
tremendously
her,
going in.
she still has credits moving forward, yeah.
She's way ahead on her credit score going into
But
the freshman.
again, bringing that to the public and letting that be a public decision.
When do we get to that point?
Right.
We're not at that point today, right now, we're just gotta try and figure out how we get a budget.
And mentioning with the taxes, we had heard back that the primary of 2026 is gonna be the earliest opportunity to be on the ballot for the tax.
Right.
Okay, so we cannot move
Yeah,
forward with that
that's
right
what it
now. So that's gonna be something we have to decide if we want to
So-
cover with the food, with the,
But there shouldn't be any extra cost because we'll be
yeah.
funding that election anyway, just
Right.
be one more item on the ballot.
Exactly. So the question, Joe, could we all ask about the sales tax? Could we ask about a referendum on paying for a school? We could have several referendums. Separate question
Then we
though,
can only have a referendum on things that are allowable in the statute.
Yeah.
or we could have a referendum even to ask whether or not people will to support a sales tax.
We would have to have a local bill approved by the General Assembly.
Okay.
I learned that on a landfill case with BFI.
So the next question, Mr. Sauer, is,
But we could put a survey on the Facebook page.
that's true.
Ah, yeah,
That's actually good. And that might bring in some viewers to see information. No, I think that'd be a good idea
I
too.
don't know if there's a way to limit how many times a person can vote, if it'd be a.
Yeah,
I don't know.
there'll always be manipulators.
Yeah.
So no, my question was, what I was trying to get at was, so I'm really concerned about the kids, feeding the kids.
I agree.
The kids, their drinking water and their food, I think are critical. My question is if we say, nope, we're not gonna increase your budget, is there a mechanism, I hate to say it, though,
Like, this money is
go in,
appropriated for this only?
focus the money straight to that, or separately pass a funding for the school lunches independently?
I think you could make that a separate line.
Yeah.
The statutes do allow you to appropriate by program.
Yeah.
And we'd have to look at, I've never been
I
through
would,
that
I would
exercise.
very much think that'd be a good
That money
idea.
cannot be reappropriated.
Because I hate the idea of some kid coming
I
to
agree.
school. I mean, and again, my wife's seen it, I've heard her talk about it, heartache of a kid coming to school who's like starving. I love the idea when I went to that gyms, that food bank of Albemarle thing, where they talk about kids with their backpacks of food going home with them. And they do it discreetly, so there's no, discomfort for a kid taking home food. I think that's wonderful. That's a heart
I'm gonna
melter.
throw this out there, we have the backpack ministry here in the county, and I think that's something that we could get together and volunteer for. They have different groups come in and help pack them
Yeah.
each month. I would love to see us come together as a community service project and contact them to come together for the schools, because I think that's something that we should be invested in.
I would love for us to do the separate funding for
Yeah.
the school
That
lunch.
too.
And I say school lunches, I'm talking about school food program, because there's a bunch of kids that come in and like dying from breakfast. I mean,
Right.
my kid does, one of my 13-year-olds, she don't eat breakfast, so she like doesn't go at all, isn't interested. But some kids, I mean, that 2 meals a day out of school systems.
Apparently, the school system's lunches and breakfasts are better than mine, because my kids will not eat at home now. They wanna go to
Don't
school and
invite-
have breakfast with their
Why
friends.
did you ever go to, don't ever invite us to dinner?
I actually cooked pretty decently, sir. They just like eating with their friends.
So I know there's programs out there through the state for the school
Right.
nutrition, whatever you would like to call it. I know there's some of it we have to be, I hate to say careful with, but I know there's been a lot of counties and school organizations having to pay some of the money back for misuse or not going where it's supposed to go. So that's something, as Mr. Forsythe said, that we would have to put that in a line item saying this is all this would be used.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Accountability.
What does E.F. Hutton think? You remember these commercials, E.F. Hutton? You ever see those? Oh, yeah, not too old, y'all. There used to be a commercial where they say, Ian Hutton was this stockbroker, and they'd say, you know, everybody in the room would be quiet, and they'd say, waiting for E.F. Hutton to speak, everybody was depending on it, because they had something significant, so I was wondering, Mr. Roundtree, you had anything?
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed it didn't show up today, because I mean, even if it didn't have.
It could have been conversational. I agree. We reached out, and I will give it to our clerk. She reached out and requested if we could have somebody here on behalf of them, just for general conversation, and that was declined as well. So we did try.
Lester, yeah, and Mr. Lester showed up and didn't know it'd been canceled, so.
Correct.
Can call him for getting up and leaving it. I can call him.
He didn't want to do it without his board, and that's
Yeah.
respectful, yeah. I agree, and we did mention coming together more frequently with them. I know my last conversation with at least one, but two different board members, they were still stating they wanted to come together more frequently, so I think they missed this opportunity. But
Well, let's give them their credit. If there's internal strife going on, it's good. They're wanting to resolve their stuff internally. And I don't think that their closed session is when they should be discussing their finances, but apparently they went to go into closed session about their finances last night. But not last night, the other night.
Monday night, yeah. All right, well, do we have any more conversation on this, or do you think I think we're all on the same page, probably?
Yeah.
So we will recess until 4:30 with the Albemarle Regional Library. All right, so we are coming back into order with the Albemarle Regional Library. Again, I was asking if you have anything, or do you want to?
We are very fortunate and blessed in this community, the Gates County Public Library, certainly support I appreciate all the support regionally, but especially to thank you for all of her wonderful programming.
I'm not sure if he's gonna.
I'll start, but I can do the least talking.
I'm sorry, let me add, we are,
Okay.
an audio video recording, so
Okay.
you could start with introductions
All right.
for that.
My name is Hugh Davis, and I am the director of Albemarle Regional Library, and so I'm the administrative regional side of things, and we are very grateful that you gave us this time, but also just for Gates County's continued support. Since it's being recorded, I shouldn't say this, but citizen by citizen, you all are the best supporter we have of our 7 branches. Certainly the 4 counties, there's no question that you all have always been very generous with us, and we appreciate that. And so, of course, we come asking for a little bit more money than we got last year. So we're going to test your patience and try that a little bit. We've got, I'll let them introduce themselves, but Donna Dowdy and, Ms. Pat Familar, who's been there for 41.5 years now. You count the halves at this point.
Yeah.
So 41.5 years, going on 42 years at the library. And so we wanted to be able to talk to you a little about the library, and we are making a request. You've got the paperwork. You've also got some information on the library, which Ms. Pat will talk about. And so as you see, we did our best to keep everything either with no change or with a slight decrease, but because of some things out of our control, such as group insurance rates going up, we are making a request that will be a little higher than last year's allocation. I'm going to turn things over to Donna and Pat. And Pat, you want to talk a little bit about what you've done at the library recently?
Well, we got some pictures. We do stay busy. When COVID came around, obviously the numbers dropped, but they haven't gotten up to the pre-COVID numbers every day like we used to, but we still get we haven't dropped that much. We stay busy, and on the back it tells some of the things. I have an assistant, Kelsey, who says, "Miss Pat, I love to make lists." And I said, "Good, go for it." And so we talked about, but she talked about the things that the library provides. A lot of people don't realize what we have at the library and what is available at the library, and the resources and the services that we do have at the library. And you can see from the pictures that we have varying numbers of groups that come to the library for different programs. Probably the most popular program is the Lego Day. You all can all come and play Legos with us. We have fun time with that, but we right now have a Gates County history class going on. We have, the big picture in the middle is this, play group for children 0 to 5 who, the Alliance, which, the Albemarle Alliance is doing this play group. And they come once a week and we've had like 40. He's having to cut, he says, can we divide it up into 2 days? We've got so many in there. We're gonna see how that works, if we can work it out. But, we've never had really too many of anything. We have people who are willing to do things for our library. We work with different groups. The young man who became an Eagle Scout made the benches for the library. And this was really something I really wanted when we first moved in. I said, oh, I can imagine folks coming in and sitting there. And it took 12 years, but hey, who's counting? Also, the extension office worked with us on different kinds of programs. We had a soup tasting. We've had other things going on. Right now, if you come and get a duck, we'll let you decorate the duck. And we've had some very interesting ducks come back to us. They're a little book, this big. The children immediately find out it goes sweet. And so every mother hates us now. But I think we can handle that. But if you look at the things we do have, I think we're the only public fax machine in the county. We have copying, we can scan, we can do all kinds of things like that. We have study rooms where people can come in and go into this little room and do their test taking and their catching up with themselves without somebody hanging over them, that kind of thing. So there's a lot that we have available, and some of you have been to the library, have used the library in the past, and know that we do have these things available. And then again, Kelsey says, I like to make lists. So she wanted to make that list about the statistics that we have, the patrons, how many patrons we get. I know Donna and Miss Jennifer get tired of us saying, we need some more patron cards, because these people, I don't know where they come from. They come and send me cards. And so they send me some new cards. Things move all the time. Some people come in just to come in, and we've got one man that comes in and reads the Gates County Index every week. That's all he does. That's fine. We have some that come in and play, which the parents bring the children in, because we've got lots of little manipulative things and toys for them to play with, as well as they'll sit over in the corner and read to their children, which we love happening too. Computers are used all the time, and people can get Wi-Fi in our parking lot too. This really started during COVID, and I had a lady that liked to walk, and of course it's safe to walk back in that area, and she said, I was a little nervous this morning because there were some people, and she came before library house, some people were parked in their car saying, I was a little nervous. I said, they come to use Wi-Fi, because that was during COVID, but they still do. We'll get ready to leave in the evening, and somebody will be sitting in their car, and I'll go and say, is everything okay? And they say, oh, we're just using Wi-Fi. And so, or my husband is deployed, and I can use the Wi-Fi here, and we can Zoom with them. So a lot of things go on, and we love to see all of you when you come.
My name is Donna Dowling, and I am currently the new finance officer for just a few months. Back in November, I took this position, so if there's something I can't answer today, I will find out for you. So I'm new at this also, but I will share, I have a special love for Gates County Library. I began my career when I was in high school. My very first job was with Gates County Library. I helped Deborah Smoke. That was before Miss Pat. Yeah. 1 year before Miss Pat. And I helped with the summer reading program for the Gates County Library. Now I'm back around as finance officer for the region. And
so I guess Larry Joyner has finally.
He still comes by, but he is.
He's been there a long time.
Yes.
So he passed it on to me, so everything I can do well. But our main objective is to ask you all, of course, to providing a nice new building for the region and to help cover those expenses and also mainly those expenses and the expenses of your employees, the salaries that are from the employees of the library. They're the two main objectives of our budget request. The other line items that you'll see, well, along with the wages, of course, comes all the benefits, the retirement and group insurance and that type of thing. But the other expenses basically are shared portions or just nominal amounts of the total amount that we spend. You can see for salaries and wages, we did not, it says decrease, but it's only a $5 difference from last year. What had happened, that's just due to rounding. At the beginning of this year, Ms. Famlar and Ms. Coburn, one went up in hours and one went down. So that big difference in wages is just the rounding because they balanced out their hours there. One of the biggest increases we're looking at retirement. Right now, the state has only given us a speculative amount. It was 13.72% matching last year. It's going to be, their guesstimate was right at 15%. So that's out of our control. And also for group insurance, we were participants of the Health Benefit Trust, and that's closing. That's being done away with at June 30th. So everybody out there, like local towns, municipalities, places like that, that were participating with the Health Benefit Trust, they're all out there searching for a new provider now. And we've had one company approach us that they're trying to pool as many of these people together to try to give us comparable rates. So we put in a 15% there just based on the uncertainty. Mr. Joyner had told me in the past, he had seen anywhere from 15 to 22% increases in 1 year's time in health insurance. One thing you can notice on the telephone and internet, we were able to shop around and make a big change in providers. So we've asked for $2,000 less for telephone and internet services. Just because our IT person was able to find us some other resources for this. So we're trying to save there. The other item that you all may want to consider looking at is the utilities. We've asked for an additional $3,000 in electric because the library is, we would probably, I think we may have talked before.
I think you mentioned you've got the highest utility costs of any library in the system.
From the time we moved in.
It's consistently, unfortunately, and it's of course it's now the second newest building. The one in Bertie was built 4 years ago, but this one is still a very new building. And I don't know if there's a way we can do an audit. You all can help us with an audit, something to find.
Okay.
Right now, for this current fiscal year, they've already spent 93% of their utility budget that we had allocated last year. So we're gonna exceed, we're gonna have to pay some local money just to help finish out this current year. So that's why that biggest increase there. So we would recommend possibly some type of energy audit, somebody to look at but it isn't all electric building.
Is it REA or is it Dominion? Okay, I don't remember which one. It's just a
So I feel like they have our energy audit type situation. So,
what type of lights do they have in there? When I was in there the other day, I wasn't paying attention to that type of stuff. What type of lights?
Type of lights.
Is it LED or is it fluorescent?
I'm not sure, but we walk in today and that light might be out and the rest will be on. Okay, and then we turn it off and turn it back on, and that light might be out and this light. There's been a light. And we have a lot of lights.
That would be something that Dominion would recommend doing, is changing your lights out to LEDs. It's a big power savings for them.
And I was gonna say, I was doing a little research on that today because we have another branch that's looking at a lighting issue. And possibly have redates and things available if you go through the proper paperwork. So it might be something.
But this has been a problem from the beginning, and me personally, not sure about all the electrical putting together, because when we first moved in, you turned on the light at my circulation desk in the ladies' bathroom right now. I mean, and then they took care of that, but I still think, I don't know electricity, but I still think there's something that's not quite right in this. But that's been since the beginning also.
Okay, I'll just touch on a couple of other things quickly, and then if you all have questions. The programming money there is, as Ms. Pat pointed out, some of the programs, and a lot of that goes to summer reading programs. That's in there. The books, that amount of money will probably take them maybe almost half a year. And then the state ARL money picks up after that. Some of the things like the ebooks, we just ask for a minimum of the total amount that's paid. We ask for a minimum from each branch, and then there's a lot of other costs. We just ask for a little share portion of things like that. As Ms. Pat said about copying and faxing, we try to have those things available for the community, the public, at very nominal, where they can go and get something like that done. But the region provides all the hardware as far as telephone, fax, copiers, computer equipment. None of those expenses come from the library, they come from the state budget. Gates County's most recent computer upgrade was one of the most recent ones we completed. We do them on cycles as the computers age out. And their recent upgrade for all new computers was like that January of 24. So ARL also absorbs all the software costs things that, if you look at the ARL website where they have ebooks and various things available, all those costs are absorbed by the state money. They do provide the personnel to, when you go in to make a copy, but ARL furnishes all the paper, the toner, things such as the library cards, the flash drives they make available for sale, earbuds, things like that. All of that comes from the state budget. And the work behind the scenes. The books are brought into the main office, they're cataloged, covered, delivered, all that comes from ARL budgets as the backbone and kind of the support of each branch of the library.
And I must say, we have a wonderful staff over in the regional office that, you know, we just call and say, oh, help, blah, 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 you know, and we have a courier that goes around 3 times a week so that books can travel from library to library to share, because we don't all buy 7 copies of everything, you know.
All different, you can walk in the library or go online and ask for a book, if it's in Berkeley County, then it'll be delivered to Gates County by the way the courier, and that's all regional expenses to help facilitate the running and the operation of the library. Are there any questions? Any particular line items that you see?
If I missed it, they brought in a whole big gigantic batch of baby chips. Or,
okay, I was like,
a big, I mean, it's amazing, it's a ton of them.
So it's perks, okay, you know.
If I missed it, if I missed this, don't answer, I'll answer it. Your digital library, did you talk about that at being online? I did try to do it once before, I could never miss Pat, you kept telling me my password or whatever you used to enter. I'd go home and I'd forget it.
Well, you can tell us, you can call back. It's because you use your library card's last 4 digits of the library card.
That's what it was. I kept putting in my last for my social security. Okay, all right.
We used to be a big, when we first got the cards, and we say, oh, put your password, and they give us all these complicated things. Then the next time, 2 weeks later, when they came back to the library, so this kind of forgotten, can you tell? Well, we couldn't, because all it is stars or whatever. And so all of us were having a problem with that, and so we talked about it region-wide. So the last 4 digits, including that one that's kind of set apart there.
Yeah.
So all
He's got
four.
3, it's got 1 there.
Yeah, okay.
And you have your library card with you.
I do.
I'm gonna say,
What a nerd, what a nerd.
nerd.
Miss Pat, see my family there a lot.
Yes.
I would definitely encourage you to get a library card. If you don't have one.
Yeah.
Visit your
Let's see,
library.
you have one, you have one.
Yeah, she knows what
You
y'all
have
are.
one, his wife has one.
Oh, he doesn't have
He has
one?
one by proxy, okay?
Oh, yeah. He's like to read what she says he can read, right?
Yeah, that's right.
They're very active in that summer reading program and that kind of thing, so, and he come in once in a while.
Are there any questions about any line items or anything that I can?
That's very simple, you got it all laid out.
Very straightforward, yeah, it's nice, and
Thank you for doing that.
the increase, no change.
Appreciate this Pat preparing you all the handout with it, because
Yeah.
I.
And Kelsey Gover.
And Kelsey, yeah.
And Chelsea, most definitely, she's my computer guru.
Because I think that's probably one of the biggest things is, people probably are not aware of how much the library offers. And we're very much, I think, keeping up with the electronic side of things. I don't know if you saw, the Index had an article recently where ECU gave the color iPads that you all got, and the hotspots, you can rent those.
Hotspots,
You
yeah.
can rent those things from the library.
Oh, really?
With
It's free.
yeah, through, yeah, there was an article in the Index as well, where ECU provided that, but ARL behind the scenes, not their staff, the ARL staff, had to prepare everything, get it ready to catalog and be able to be checked out and that type of thing.
And those tablets and the hotspots that are going, we've got them in January, and they had, I don't know how many, did she tell us in here, I forget, how many we are going in and out.
So there's a lot of digital things out there that we're trying to keep up with the technology.
Tough to do.
And,
So you're trying to look up one of your sites right now.
I think you missed Gates County upgraded all their computers at the beginning of 24. We're on a cycle that, once things, and when the latest Windows comes out and anything like that, the state budget reflects those costs and try to keep everything up to date.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate y'all's time.
I guess we will, are we? So we are going to need to adjourn this portion, and then we will come back into session over there for the Board of Equalization and Review at 5:30. So if we can get a motion to adjourn.
So,
Second. All right, all in favor, vote with show of hands. 5-5, all right. Thank you all.
thank you, appreciate it.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Yeah, I was sitting, yeah, that's right. Yeah. That was last year.